Good evening. I'm delighted you could join me tonight for a rather chilling tale. And when I say chilling, I mean that quite literally. Tonight's story concerns itself with a rather unfortunate celestial visitor, a brown dwarf, wandering through space for 2 billion years, only to drop in on our little neighborhood at the most inconvenient time. The result? Well, let's just say you might want to invest in a good coat. Now, before we begin, I should mention that this is entirely a work of fiction. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or frozen, is purely coincidental. The voices you'll hear tonight were generated using artificial intelligence, but I assure you, a human mind directed this particular nightmare. We wouldn't want the machines taking all the credit for our anxieties, would we? So settle in, pour yourself something warm. You're going to need it. Enjoy the show.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you. Welcome to the show. We've got an interesting topic tonight. We're talking about the end of the world. I know, sounds like a real party, doesn't it? My producer said, John, we need to do something serious, something with gravitas. So naturally I said, let's talk about extinction events, really boost those ratings, get people tuning in before bed. Nothing helps you sleep like a good discussion about civilization-ending catastrophes. But seriously, we have two brilliant scientists with us tonight who are going to walk us through the various ways humanity could, not be here anymore. So grab a drink, settle in, we'll be right back. All right, our first guest tonight is a catastrophe expert. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. He spent his career studying pandemics, natural disasters, and all the fun ways civilization could collapse. Please welcome Dr. Adrian Helmsley.
Thank you, John. Happy to be here.
Dr. Helmsley, I have to ask, you study the end of the world for a living. How do you stay so cheerful?
Well, I think it's important to understand that by studying these scenarios, we're actually trying to prevent them. Knowledge is our best defense.
That's very reassuring. So let's start with the classics. What keeps you up at night? What's the big one?
Well, if I'm being honest, pandemics are at the top of my list. And when we look at the scientific evidence, and I think this is really important to understand, we're looking at the possibility of what we call a superflu, something with the transmission rate of influenza, but the lethality of something like Ebola.
Oh, that's delightful. Tell me more.
The 1918 Spanish flu killed 50 million people, and that was before modern air travel, before international commerce at the scale we have today. A similar virus now, with our interconnected world, could kill hundreds of millions in the first year alone. And if it mutated to become more lethal, we could be looking at a genuine extinction level threat.
Well, I'm suddenly very aware of everyone who coughed on the subway today. What else? Give me the full nightmare list.
Nuclear war is still very much on the table. We have approximately 13,000 nuclear warheads globally. The United States and Russia alone possess over 90% of them. A full-scale exchange would create what we call a nuclear winter, ash and debris blocking out the sun for years. Global temperatures would plummet, crops would fail, most of humanity would starve.
You're just full of good news tonight, aren't you?
There's also supervolcanoes. Yellowstone, for instance, is essentially a giant magma chamber beneath Wyoming. When it erupts, and it will erupt eventually, it could eject 1,000 cubic kilometers of ash into the atmosphere. That's a volcanic winter scenario, similar to nuclear winter, actually. Global crop failures, mass starvation.
I'm noticing a theme here. Everything ends with starvation and darkness.
Well, we're a species that depends on agriculture and sunlight. Take away either one for long enough, and we're in serious trouble.
What about asteroids? I feel like we always hear about asteroids.
Asteroids are actually one of the threats I worry about least, and I know that sounds strange, but we're getting very good at tracking them. NASA has cataloged 95% of the near-Earth asteroids larger than 1 kilometer. The chances of a dinosaur killer hitting us without warning are very, very low.
Well, that's something. One thing we don't have to worry about. Dr. Helmsley, thank you. That was thoroughly depressing. Stick around. We've got another guest coming up. All right. Our next guest is an astrophysicist who studies, everything out there. The big stuff, the cosmic stuff. Dr. Joel Miller, come on out.
Thanks for having me, John.
Dr. Miller, we've heard about pandemics, nuclear war, volcanoes, asteroids. What keeps an astrophysicist awake at night? What's your nightmare scenario?
Honestly, a rogue stellar object passing through our solar system.
A rogue stellar object. That sounds like something from a science fiction movie.
It does, doesn't it? But it's actually a very real possibility. See, there are objects out there called brown dwarfs. They're essentially failed stars. They have mass, lots of mass, maybe 10 to 80 times the mass of Jupiter, but they're not quite heavy enough to sustain nuclear fusion like a real star.
So they're just floating around out there in the dark?
Exactly. And many of them are what we call rogue objects. They've been ejected from their home star systems, usually through gravitational interactions with other bodies. So they wander through interstellar space for millions of years, billions even.
And one of these could just stumble into our solar system?
It's rare, but yes, very rare, but not impossible. And if one did, if a brown dwarf passed close enough to Earth, the gravitational effects would be catastrophic.
Define catastrophic, because we've been talking about pretty catastrophic stuff all night.
It would disrupt Earth's orbit, pull us farther away from the sun, or potentially closer, depending on the trajectory and timing. But most likely, given the mechanics involved, it would push us outward.
And that would be bad.
Devastating. Even a small change in Earth's orbital distance would have massive climate effects. We're currently 93 million miles from the sun. If we were pushed out to, say, 100 million miles, that's only a 7% increase in distance. But solar radiation follows an inverse square law. We'd receive about 13% less sunlight.
13%. That doesn't sound like much.
It's enough to trigger an ice age, a real one. Not a little ice age like we had in medieval times. I'm talking about global temperatures dropping 10 to 15 degrees Celsius, ice sheets advancing from the poles, most of the northern hemisphere becoming uninhabitable. Billions of people would have nowhere to go.
Jesus. That's actually terrifying. How much warning would we have?
That's the nightmare part. Brown dwarfs are very hard to detect. They don't emit visible light like stars, just a faint infrared glow. We'd probably only notice one if it got close enough to perturb objects in the outer solar system. Kuiper belt objects, things beyond Neptune. By the time we detected those perturbations and traced them back to a brown dwarf, we might only have months.
Months. And what could we do in months?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You can't deflect something with the mass of a brown dwarf. You can't change its trajectory. You watch it approach. You calculate what's going to happen. And you try to prepare people for the aftermath.
I have to say, that might be worse than anything I talked about. At least with a pandemic, we can develop vaccines. With nuclear war, we can choose not to push the button. But there's no defense.
No defense at all. Just hope that it never happens. The odds are astronomically low, thankfully, but they're not zero.
Well, this has been absolutely delightful. I can't thank you both enough for coming on and making sure I'll never sleep soundly again. Dr. Helmsley, Dr. Miller, thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Thanks for having us.
So, to recap for everyone at home, we could be wiped out by a super flu, nuclear war, a supervolcano, or a wandering failed star from the depths of space. But hey, at least we don't have to worry about asteroids. Sleep tight, America. See you tomorrow. Probably.
Good evening, I'm Jackson Curtis. A quick look at tonight's science headlines. Engineers in Boston have successfully tested a new battery technology that could extend electric vehicle range by 30%. The James Webb Space Telescope has captured stunning new images of a galaxy 13 billion light-years away, giving us a glimpse into the early universe. And researchers at Stanford report progress on a potential Alzheimer's treatment showing promising results in early trials. But first, an intriguing development from the world of astronomy. Scientists at Las Campanas Observatory in Chile have detected some unusual gravitational perturbations in the outer reaches of our solar system. Now, for those of us who aren't astronomers, perturbations are basically wobbles or irregular movements in an object's orbit. And these wobbles, well, they're raising some interesting questions. Joining us tonight to discuss this discovery is Dr. Ronald Quincy, an independent astronomer who's been following this story closely. Dr. Quincy, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Jackson. You know, I have to say, This is one of the more fascinating anomalies I've come across in my career.
So what exactly are we looking at here? What's causing these wobbles?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The team at Las Campanas has been monitoring several objects in the Kuiper Belt. That's the region beyond Neptune where you find things like Pluto and thousands of other icy bodies. And over the past few months, they've noticed that some of these objects aren't quite where they should be. Their orbits are, how do I put this, slightly off. Now, we're talking about very small deviations here. We're not talking about anything dramatic. But when you're dealing with objects that far out, moving in predictable patterns for billions of years, even tiny changes are significant. It means something is exerting gravitational influence on them.
And I understand there's some speculation this could be related to the so-called Planet 9, that hypothetical planet scientists have been searching for.
Exactly. You've done your homework, Jackson. For years now, astronomers have theorized there might be a large planet lurking in the outer solar system. Something maybe 10 times the mass of Earth, orbiting way out beyond Neptune. We've never seen it directly, but the gravitational effects on other objects have suggested it might be out there. What's interesting about these new observations is the pattern. The perturbations seem to indicate something massive. I mean, really massive, approaching from an unusual angle. Most of our surveys focus on the ecliptic plane. That's the flat disk where most planets orbit. But these anomalies suggest whatever this is, it's coming from above that plane, maybe 45 degrees or so. That's not where we typically look.
How massive are we talking about here?
Well, the preliminary calculations, and I want to stress these are very preliminary, suggest we're looking at something in the range of 10 to 20 Jupiter masses. Now, that might not mean much to your viewers, but Jupiter is huge. It's more than 300 times the mass of Earth. So we're potentially talking about something significantly larger than any planet in our solar system. But here's the thing, Jackson. It could also be a calculation error. It could be a cluster of smaller objects creating a combined gravitational effect. It could be something we haven't even thought of yet. The scientific community is just starting to dig into the data, and honestly, there's a lot of head scratching going on right now.
You mentioned this object. Whatever it is about 55 astronomical units away. Can you put that in perspective for us?
Sure. 1 astronomical unit is the distance from Earth to the Sun, about 93 million miles. So 55 astronomical units, we're talking about, roughly 5 billion miles away. That's well beyond Neptune, out in the Kuiper Belt region. At that distance, if this were a planet, it would take sunlight about 7.5 hours to reach it. For context, Neptune is about 30 astronomical units from the Sun, and it takes Voyager 1, our fastest spacecraft, about 40 years to travel that far. So we're talking about a very, very distant region of space.
And I imagine at those distances, it's difficult to observe objects directly?
Oh, absolutely. That's why these gravitational perturbations are so important. We can't see this object directly, at least not yet. It's too far away, probably too dim, but we can see its effects on other objects, kind of like how you can tell someone walked through snow even if you didn't see them do it. Their footprints give them away. The Las Campanas team has shared their data with observatories around the world, and I know several groups are now pointing their telescopes at that region of space to see if they can spot anything. We're talking about some of the most powerful infrared telescopes we have, because if this is a planet or something similar, it would be extremely cold and would show up better in infrared.
This is fascinating stuff. So what happens next? What's the timeline for figuring out what this actually is?
Well, these things take time. Astronomy is a patient science. We need to collect more data, refine our calculations, rule out other possibilities. I'd say we're looking at weeks or months before we have a clearer picture. The international astronomical community is definitely interested, and data is being shared, which is great. You know, one of the exciting things about this is it reminds us how much we still don't know about our own cosmic backyard. We've mapped distant galaxies billions of light years away, but there are still mysteries right here in our solar system. It's humbling, and honestly, it's what makes astronomy such a thrill.
Well, we'll definitely be following this story as it develops. Dr. Ronald Quincy, thank you so much for helping us understand this.
My pleasure, Jackson. Anytime.
And we'll keep you updated on that story as more information becomes available. Up next, a look at tomorrow's weather forecast and what you need to know about the upcoming cold front moving through the region. We begin tonight with breaking news that has, frankly, left much of the world stunned. In a coordinated announcement just hours ago, world leaders confirmed what scientists have been debating for the past month. The object detected in our outer solar system is real, it's massive, and its trajectory will bring it closer to Earth than anyone initially anticipated. The object, now officially designated 2027 UN-173, though many are calling it Fimbulwinter, is a brown dwarf, essentially a failed star, and according to NASA, it will pass within 1.8 million miles of Earth in approximately 13 months. Now, officials are emphasizing there is no collision risk, but the gravitational effects of such a close encounter will, according to the models, alter Earth's orbit. Joining us now is Dr. Terry Rapson from NASA, who participated in today's announcement. Dr. Rapson, help us understand what we're looking at here.
Thank you, Jackson. First, I want to emphasize what you just said. There is absolutely no risk of collision. The object will pass at a distance of 1.8 million miles. That's about 7.5 times the distance between Earth and the Moon. In astronomical terms, that's close, but it's not, it's not going to hit us. What will happen is this object, which has a mass of approximately 15 Jupiter masses, will create significant gravitational perturbations as it passes. Our models indicate that Earth's orbit will be displaced by roughly 1 million miles. That means instead of orbiting at 93 million miles from the Sun, we'll be orbiting at approximately 94 million miles.
1 million miles farther from the Sun. What does that mean for our climate?
Well, the solar radiation we receive will decrease by approximately 2%. That translates to a global temperature drop of, we estimate, 2 to 3 degrees Celsius over the next several years. Now, that's significant. I don't want to minimize it, but it's manageable. We're talking about cooler growing seasons, some shifts in agricultural zones, increased heating costs in northern latitudes. It's going to require adaptation and international cooperation. But humanity has dealt with climate variability before. This is a serious challenge, but it's not an extinction event.
What about the Moon? There's been speculation about whether the Moon's orbit could be affected.
The Moon will experience some orbital perturbations, yes. We expect its orbit to become slightly more elliptical. The tidal effects on Earth will change somewhat. But our models show these changes are within acceptable parameters. The Moon isn't going anywhere.
Also joining us is Grace Curtis, Director of the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Director Curtis, what preparations are being made?
Jackson, we've been working closely with state and local emergency management for the past 2 weeks, ever since we received the preliminary data. Right now, we're focused on building resilience in our infrastructure, particularly in regions that will experience the most significant cooling. We're coordinating with the Department of Agriculture on crop adaptation strategies. We're working with energy providers to ensure heating fuel supplies can meet increased demand. And we're establishing emergency response frameworks with our international partners because, obviously, this is a global situation requiring global cooperation. I want to emphasize that we have 13 months to prepare. That's a reasonable timeline to implement adaptation measures. We're not looking at an immediate crisis, but we are taking this very seriously.
The announcement has already had immediate effects on global markets. Stock exchanges from Tokyo to London to New York saw significant declines today, with the Dow Jones dropping 15% before trading was temporarily halted. There have been reports of panic buying in some cities, particularly in northern regions. Lines at grocery stores, gas stations seeing unusual volume. Director Curtis, what's your message to people who are understandably concerned right now?
I understand the fear. This is extraordinary news, but panic doesn't help anyone. There's no need to stockpile supplies beyond normal emergency preparedness. There's no need to make drastic life changes right now. What we need is calm, rational planning. Follow guidance from local emergency management. Stay informed through reliable sources, and know that your government is working around the clock on this.
Dr. Rapson, one final question. Is there any possibility that the projections could be wrong, that the effects might be less severe than predicted?
Well, there's always some uncertainty in models this complex, but we've run the simulations dozens of times with multiple independent teams. The trajectory is well established now. The object's mass is confirmed through multiple observation methods. The 1 million mile displacement is our best estimate. It could be slightly more or slightly less, but we're confident in that general range.
Dr. Terry Rapson from NASA and FEMA Director Grace Curtis, thank you both. We're going to take a brief break. When we return, we'll have the President's address to the nation. And now, the President of the United States.
My fellow Americans, good evening. I'm going to be very honest with you tonight because that's what you deserve. Total honesty. We've got a situation, big situation, maybe the biggest situation any president has ever had to deal with. People are saying, they're saying it's incredible. And it is, it's incredible. So here's what's happening. There's this object, this brown dwarf thing, coming toward us from space. Now, first of all, it's not going to hit us, okay? Let me be very clear. No collision. Our scientists, tremendous scientists, the best scientists anywhere in the world, they've calculated everything. 1.8 million miles away it's going to pass. That's far. That's very far. But here's the thing. When something that massive comes that close, even though it's far, it's going to affect our orbit. We're going to move about 1 million miles farther from the sun. Now, is that ideal? No. Nobody wants that. But you know what? We're going to deal with it. We're going to adapt. Americans are the best at adapting. We adapt better than anybody. It's going to get a little cooler. 2, maybe 3 degrees. Growing seasons are going to change. We'll have to adjust some things. But let me tell you something. This country has been through worse. We've been through wars. We've been through depressions. We've been through everything you can imagine. And every single time, we've come out stronger on the other side. Now, I've been on the phone, and I mean all day, with world leaders, President of China, leaders in Europe, Russia, everybody. And you know what? For the first time, maybe the first time ever, everybody's agreeing. Everybody wants to work together. It's like that movie. You know the one, The Day After Tomorrow, where the climate goes crazy and it freezes everything. Dennis Quaid, great actor, fantastic movie. I watched that and I thought, wow, that's terrifying, but it's just a movie, right? Well, this is kind of like that, except it's real, and it's not as bad as that movie. Not even close. Well, in that movie, the world gets really cold really fast. We're talking about a much slower process here, much more manageable. But the point is, in that movie, everybody had to work together to survive. And that's what we're doing. Real cooperation, real teamwork. That's beautiful. That's what we need. I've authorized, and this is huge, I've authorized the creation of an international cooperation framework. Resources are going to be shared. Technology, agricultural expertise, energy solutions. We're going to help each other get through this. Now, I know some of you are scared. I get it. I've seen the stock market today. Not great. Not what we want to see. But let me tell you, markets go up, markets go down. This is temporary. This is fear. Once people understand what we're dealing with and see that we have a plan, and we do have a plan, a really good plan, things are going to stabilize. Here's what I need from you. Don't panic. Seriously, don't panic. There's no need to rush out and buy everything in the stores. There's plenty of food. There's plenty of supplies. What we need is Americans being Americans, strong, resilient, looking out for each other. Check on your neighbors. Help your community. Stay calm. We've got 13 months to prepare. 13 months. That's a lot of time. Our scientists are working on adaptation strategies. Our engineers are reinforcing infrastructure. Our agricultural experts are developing cold-resistant crops. Everybody is doing their part. And you know what? We're going to be ready. Someone asked me earlier. They said, "Mr. President, are you worried?" And I'll tell you what I told them. I have complete confidence in the American people. Complete confidence. When Americans are challenged, we don't back down. We don't give up. We roll up our sleeves and we get to work. This is going to be difficult. I'm not going to lie to you. There will be challenges ahead, but we will get through this together. And when we do, and we will, we're going to look back on this moment and we're going to say, that was when humanity showed what it's really made of. That was when we proved that nothing, not even something from outer space, can stop the human spirit. I believe in America. I believe in all of you. We will adapt. We will overcome. We will show the world what we're capable of. God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
The President, speaking there from the Oval Office. We'll have continuing coverage of this developing story throughout the evening.
Okay, folks, we need to talk about what just happened. The president just told you 1 million miles. The NASA spokesperson, Dr. Terry Rapson, he stood there in his suit and tie and said 2% solar reduction. And I'm here to tell you, that is a lie. It's a damned lie, and they know it's a lie. I've been talking to people, astronomers, people who actually ran the numbers. And you know what they're telling me? Off the record, because they're terrified. They're telling me the displacement is going to be 6, 7, maybe 8 million miles. Not 1 million, 7 million. Do you understand what that means? That's not a 2% reduction in solar radiation. That's 15%. That's an ice age. And here's what really gets me. They've known this for months. Months. Las Campanas detected the object 15 months ago. NASA had access to every telescope, every supercomputer on the planet. You think they just now figured out the trajectory? You think they waited until yesterday to run the simulations? No, they knew. They've always known. And they made a conscious decision. a calculated decision to tell you a number you could live with instead of the truth. Why? Ask yourself why they would do that. Because if they told you the truth, if they stood up there and said billions of you are going to die, there would be chaos, immediate chaos. Banks would collapse overnight. Food distribution would stop. People would abandon their posts. Society would disintegrate before the brown dwarf even got here. So they're giving you just enough truth to seem credible, but not enough to cause immediate panic. They're managing you like livestock. And the elite? Oh, they're preparing. You think those ARC projects just appeared overnight? They've been building those for years. Underground cities, seed vaults, geothermal power. They've been planning for this. Not for a 2% temperature drop for an ice age. Because they knew. They've always known. And they decided you didn't need to know until it was too late to do anything about it. So what do? First, you don't trust the official numbers. Not anymore. Start planning for the worst case scenario. If you're north of 35 degrees latitude, start thinking about how to get south. Now, not when they tell you to evacuate. Now, second, build community. Find people you can trust, because when this gets bad, and it will get bad, your neighbors are all you're going to have. Third, demand answers. Make noise. Make them uncomfortable. They're counting on you to just accept what you're told. Don't give them that satisfaction. Mark my words. In a few weeks, maybe a month, they're going to come back and say, oh, we made a calculation error. Turns out it's worse than we thought. And they'll act surprised. They'll act like this is new information. But it's not. They know right now. They've always known. This is Charlie Frost, and I'll be here telling you the truth they don't want you to hear. Stay vigilant, stay angry, and don't believe their lies.
Good evening. Tonight, a story that's already shaken global markets and sent governments scrambling for answers. Leaked scientific models from multiple independent research teams are suggesting that the climate impacts of the Fimbulwinter encounter may be significantly more severe than what was presented in last month's official announcement. The documents, which have been circulating through the astronomical community for the past 72 hours, indicate that Earth's orbital displacement could be as much as 6 to 8 million miles, not the 1 million miles that NASA presented. If true, the implications are, well, they're catastrophic. Joining us tonight is Dr. Ronald Quincy, the independent astronomer who first detected the gravitational anomalies 2 months ago. Dr. Quincy was part of one of the teams that ran these unauthorized simulations. Dr. Quincy, these are extraordinary claims. Walk us through what you found.
Jackson, I've been doing this work for 30 years, and I have never, ever been in a position like this. But I couldn't stay silent anymore. I couldn't. 3 weeks ago, I was approached by colleagues who had access to the raw gravitational data from the encounter simulations. They'd run the models independently using the same parameters NASA used, the same mass estimates, the same trajectory, everything. And they weren't getting 1 million miles, they were getting 6 to 8 million miles, most likely 7. So we ran it again. Different team, different supercomputers, different institutions, University of Tokyo, Max Planck Institute, European Space Agency, Caltech, MIT. Every single independent simulation came back with the same result, 6 to 8 million miles.
Are you saying that NASA's calculations were wrong?
I'm saying either they made a catastrophic error in their modeling, or, and this is what keeps me up at night, they knew and they chose to minimize it. I was told off the record by people inside the process that there was, let's call it pressure, to present the most optimistic scenario possible to avoid panic. But Jackson, you can't lie about physics. You can't wish away gravitational dynamics because they're inconvenient or terrifying. The math is the math, and the math says 7 million miles.
7 million miles instead of 1 million. What does that mean for solar radiation, for climate?
It means instead of a 2% reduction in solar radiation, we're looking at 13.5%. Instead of 2 to 3 degrees Celsius cooling, we're looking at 12 to 15 degrees. Jackson, That's not a manageable adaptation challenge. That's a full ice age.
Also with us tonight is Dr. Jack Hall, a climatologist who has been modeling the potential effects. Dr. Hall, help us understand what a 13.5% reduction in solar radiation actually means.
It means the end of the world as we know it. I don't know how else to say it. A 12 to 15 degrees Celsius drop in global average temperature is what we saw during the last glacial maximum, 20,000 years ago, when ice sheets kilometers thick covered Canada and northern Europe. Within 18 months, we would see permanent ice sheet formation beginning in the Arctic and subarctic regions. Growing seasons in the northern hemisphere would collapse. Anything north of, say, 45 degrees latitude becomes effectively uninhabitable within 5 years. We're talking about the entire northern tier of the United States, all of Canada, Scandinavia, northern Europe, northern Russia, under ice. Ocean currents would reorganize. The Gulf Stream would likely collapse, which means Europe gets hit even harder than the global average. Marine ecosystems would experience mass die-offs. 70, maybe 80% of species wouldn't survive the transition. And human casualties, we're looking at billions, not millions, billions.
Dr. Hall, that sounds like an extinction-level event.
For most of humanity, yes. The only viable long-term habitation zones would be within about 35 degrees of the equator. Central Africa, India, Southeast Asia, Central America, Northern South America. That's it. That's where 8 billion people would have to try to survive.
Dr. Quincy, what about the moon? The official estimate was that orbital disruption would be within acceptable parameters.
The revised models show a 15% probability of the moon being lost entirely, pulled away from Earth's gravitational influence during the encounter. 60% probability of severe orbital disruption, meaning tides that could be catastrophically unpredictable for years. 25% probability of outcomes we'd consider acceptable.
We've reached out to NASA for comment. They've issued a brief statement saying they stand by their original calculations and are reviewing the independent models. But tonight, the damage has already been done. Stock markets have crashed another 40%. Bank runs are being reported in multiple cities. There are reports of panic buying, of people leaving their jobs, of, frankly, societal breakdown beginning in some areas. Dr. Quincy, you've essentially ended your career by coming forward with this. Why take that risk?
Because I have children. I have grandchildren, and I couldn't look them in the eye knowing that I stayed silent while people were being told a comfortable lie instead of a difficult truth. Maybe I'm wrong. God, I hope I'm wrong. But if I'm right, and we waste these 13 months preparing for the wrong scenario, millions, billions more will die than have to. People deserve the truth, even when it's terrifying. Especially when it's terrifying.
Dr. Ronald Quincy and Dr. Jack Hall, thank you. We'll continue to follow this story as it develops. For now, we're left with more questions than answers, and a world that, quite frankly, doesn't know what to believe anymore.
Brothers and sisters, I want to start tonight with a passage from the book of Psalms, chapter 23. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. I know many of you heard the news today. I know you're scared. I know you feel betrayed. They told us one thing, and now we learn it was never true. 7 million miles, not 1 million. An ice age, not a manageable challenge. And I see the fear in your eyes. I hear it in your voices when you call. You're asking, Pastor, where is God in this? And I want to be honest with you. I don't have all the answers. I'm standing here tonight, and I'm scared too. I have family I love. I have people I care about. And I know I know what this means for them, for all of us. But I also know this. In the Gospel of John, chapter 16, verse 33, Jesus said, "In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world." He didn't promise us a life without suffering. He didn't promise us that bad things wouldn't happen, but He promised us He would be with us through it, all of it. And I believe that. I have to believe that. Because without that, without Him, this is too much. This is unbearable. Some of you are angry tonight. Angry at the scientists who lied. Angry at the governments who kept the truth from us. And that anger is understandable. It's human. But I want to ask you something. What would you have done if you knew that telling the truth would cause immediate chaos, would cost millions of lives before the crisis even arrived? What would you have done? I'm not excusing the lie, but I'm asking us to remember that we're all human. We're all making impossible choices right now. And the most important thing, the thing that will determine whether we survive this as human beings and not just as biological organisms, is how we treat each other. In Matthew chapter 25, Jesus said, "Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." That's our calling right now. Not judgment, not anger, love. So what do? We pray. We pray for those who are suffering. We pray for the scientists and leaders carrying impossible burdens. We pray for guidance. But we don't just pray. We act. Check on your neighbors. Share what you have. If you have space in your car heading south, offer it to someone who doesn't. If you have food, share it. This is how we live out our faith. Not in condemning the world, in loving it. I want to close with another verse. Isaiah chapter 41, verse 10. "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." He is with us, church, in the valley, in the shadow of death, in the ice and the darkness. He is with us. May the peace of Christ, which surpasses all understanding, guard your hearts and minds. Go in peace. Go in love. Amen.
Good evening. It's been 6 weeks since the leaked climate models revealed the true scope of what we're facing. Then tonight, we're witnessing the largest peacetime migration in human history. Millions of people from northern latitudes are abandoning their homes, heading south toward what they hope will be survivable climates. Harry Stamper is on Interstate 5 South, about 50 miles north of Sacramento. Harry, what are you seeing?
Jackson, I'm looking at, there's no other way to describe this, an endless river of vehicles heading south. I've been here for 4 hours and it hasn't stopped. Not for a single minute. Cars, trucks, RVs, people pulling trailers loaded with whatever they could fit. You can see mattresses tied to roof racks, furniture in truck beds, entire lives compressed into whatever would fit in a vehicle. I spoke with a family from Seattle about an hour ago. They sold their house, their 4-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood, for $20,000. $20,000. The buyer paid cash. They told me they considered themselves lucky because their neighbors couldn't find buyers at any price. People are they're just walking away, leaving the keys on the kitchen counter and driving south. The northbound lanes are completely empty. I mean, not a single car going north. It's eerie. This highway usually carries 100,000 vehicles a day in both directions. Right now it's all going one way, south.
Harry, where are these people going? Do they have destinations or are they just driving?
It's a mix. Some people have family in Southern California, Arizona, New Mexico, they're heading there. But a lot of them, Jackson, they don't know. They just know they can't stay where they are. One woman told me she's driving until she feels warm enough. That's her plan. Drive south until it feels warm.
We're also getting reports from the southern end of this migration. Laura Chapman is in Miami, where the population has swelled by an estimated 30% in the last month alone. Laura.
Jackson, the city is overwhelmed. Housing that was already expensive has become, well, unattainable for most people. I spoke with a landlord this morning who said he had 200 applications for a 2-bedroom apartment. 200. He's asking $5,000 a month, and it will be rented by tomorrow. Tent cities are appearing in parks. Families are sleeping in their cars in parking lots, in beach areas, anywhere they can find space. The city has opened emergency shelters, but they're full. The county has opened shelters, they're full. Churches, community centers, school gymnasiums, all full. And it's not just housing. The schools don't have capacity for this influx. Hospitals are strained. Grocery stores are running low on supplies because distribution networks weren't designed for this kind of sudden population increase. This city, like every other city in the southern tier, just can't absorb this many people this quickly.
We're joined now by Grace Curtis, director of FEMA, via phone. Director Curtis, what is the federal response to this crisis?
Jackson, we're coordinating with state and local emergency management across the southern states to establish refugee processing centers. We're working with HUD to identify available housing. We're coordinating with the Department of Agriculture to ensure food supplies reach high-demand areas. But I need to be honest, the scale of this migration it's beyond anything we planned for. We're doing everything we can, but resources are strained. Some cities are implementing residency requirements, trying to slow the influx. Military bases in southern states are being converted to temporary housing. We're exploring every option, but this is unprecedented.
This isn't just happening in the United States. We're seeing similar migrations globally. In Canada, the population north of the 50th parallel has dropped by an estimated 70%. Cities like Edmonton and Winnipeg are becoming ghost towns. In Europe, there's a mass movement toward the Mediterranean. Spain, Italy, Greece are all reporting unsustainable population increases. And we're getting reports of the first government collapses. Iceland's government has ceased functioning. The entire population is attempting to evacuate. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, all 3 Baltic states are in what officials are calling a state of societal suspension. Not quite collapsed, but not functioning. Harry, one more question. What's the mood among the people you're talking to?
It's grief, Jackson. These people are grieving. They're leaving behind everything they know. I talked to a man who'd lived in the same house for 40 years, raised his kids there. He told me he walked through every room one last time, said goodbye to the walls, and locked the door behind him knowing he'd never see it again. That's what we're watching. Mass grief.
Harry Stamper on Interstate 5, Laura Chapman in Miami, thank you both. We're going to take a brief break. When we return, we'll hear directly from some of the people caught up in this exodus.
It's 2:17 a.m. on the East Coast, and you're listening to Nightline. I'm Lena McLeodlaw, and tonight, like every night this week, the phones haven't stopped ringing. We're opening the lines to anyone who needs to talk, anyone who needs to share their story. If you're out there, if you're listening, you're not alone. First caller, you're on the air.
Hi, calling from, calling from my car, actually, somewhere in Nevada. I left Minneapolis 3 days ago, just me and my dog. I couldn't afford to take anything else. The car was barely running, and I thought, if I load it down, it might not make it. My daughter, she's in Phoenix. She said I could stay with her, but she's got 2 kids in a 1-bedroom apartment, and I don't know. I needed to hear a human voice, even if it's just on the radio. So thank you for being here.
Where in Minneapolis did you live?
near the lakes, Harriet and Calhoun. I used to walk there every morning, 32 years in that neighborhood. I left the keys on the counter, didn't even lock the door. What's the point, right? I'm sorry, I'm trying not to cry.
Don't apologize. You cry if you need to cry. What's your dog's name?
Cooper. He's a golden retriever, 12 years old. He doesn't understand why we left. He keeps looking at me like, when are we going home? And I don't know how to tell him we're not.
Drive safe. And when you get to Phoenix, you give Cooper extra treats from me. Next caller, you're on Nightline.
Yeah. Hey, I'm calling because I guess I need to hear someone say I'm not crazy. I sold my house in Chicago for $12,000. My realtor told me I should be grateful anyone bought it at all, said in another month it would be worthless. I paid $300,000 for that house 8 years ago, put another $50,000 into renovations, and I sold it for $12,000. My wife keeps saying we should have stayed, that we panicked, that maybe the scientists are wrong. Are we crazy? Did we just throw our lives away for nothing?
Where are you now?
San Antonio, staying in a motel, running through that $12,000 pretty quick. I had a good job, insurance adjuster, 23 years with the same company. Walked in one morning and my boss was gone. Half the office was gone. So I went home and told my wife we're leaving. She didn't want to. We fought about it. Still fighting about it.
I can't tell you if you made the right choice. Nobody can. We won't know until we know. But here's what I can tell you. You're not crazy for being scared. You're not crazy for trying to protect your family. That's not panic. That's love.
Thanks. Thank you.
Next caller, go ahead.
I'm not leaving. I know everyone's running, but I'm staying. I'm 78 years old. I live in Anchorage. Been here since 1969. This is my home. I don't care what's coming. I'm not abandoning it. My kids have been calling, begging me to come down to California. But I told them, I said, I'm too old to start over. This is where I want to be when whatever's going to happen happens. I wanted to call in because I think there are others like me, people who are staying, and I wanted them to know they're not alone either.
What's your name?
Margaret. I raised 3 kids here, lost my husband here. All my memories are in this house, in this city. I look out my window and I see mountains that have been here for millions of years. They'll be here long after I'm gone. That's comforting somehow.
Margaret, thank you for calling. I hope you'll call again. Let us know how you're doing. We'll be here. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, more of your calls. This is Nightline. Stay with us.
They call them vaults. Survival bunkers built deep underground or inside mountains, designed to shelter a select few through the coming ice age. For the past 6 weeks, I've been investigating these facilities, where they are, who's building them, and most importantly, who gets to survive. This is Laura Biderman, and this is what I've uncovered. The vaults were fast-tracked after the brown dwarf's discovery. Former missile silos in Kansas and Montana. Deep mountain complexes in the Swiss Alps and the Norwegian fjords. Underground facilities in New Zealand's South Island. What started as luxury doomsday shelters for the ultra-wealthy became something much larger once the climate projections became clear. Construction accelerated dramatically once we understood what was coming. I've identified at least 47 major vault facilities worldwide, each designed to house between 500 and 3,000 people. Total capacity, optimistically, maybe 50,000 human beings. Out of 8 billion on this planet, that's 0.0006% of humanity. Let's start with location. The largest facility is in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. Former NORAD bunker complex, expanded and privatized. Designed for 2,000 occupants. There's a facility in the Ozarks of Missouri, another in the mountains of northern Georgia, 2 in West Virginia, 3 in Montana. Europe has the Swiss facilities in the Alps, Norwegian bunkers built into fjordside mountains, and a massive complex in the Pyrenees between France and Spain. New Zealand has become ground zero for Southern Hemisphere vaults. 6 major facilities on South Island alone. Why New Zealand? It's already temperate. It's geographically isolated. And it has a government that, until recently, asked very few questions about wealthy foreigners buying property. Now let's talk about cost. A spot in one of these facilities runs between $50 million and $500 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $500 million for a guaranteed spot. That buys you a private living unit, access to shared facilities, and the promise of survival. Food, water, air filtration, geothermal power, hydroponic gardens. Everything you need to live out your life underground. These aren't temporary shelters. These are permanent homes. Generational facilities designed to sustain populations for as long as it takes. Decades, centuries, however long the Ice Age lasts. So who gets in? I obtained leaked selection criteria from 3 separate facilities. First priority, ability to pay, obviously. Second, skill sets deemed essential for long-term survival. Engineers, doctors, scientists, agricultural experts. Third, genetic diversity requirements, age and health screening. Fourth, what they call cultural preservation. Artists, musicians, historians, people who can maintain human civilization's memory across generations. What's not on that list? Need. There's no priority given to children, to the elderly, to anyone based on, moral considerations about who deserves to survive. This is purely transactional. If you can pay or if you have skills they want, you're in. If not, you're out. I spoke with one of the facility operators who agreed to an interview. Let me introduce you to Gavin Elster, Chief Operating Officer of Sanctuary Solutions, the company managing 12 vault facilities worldwide.
What we're doing here is ensuring the continuity of human civilization. That's not hyperbole, that's fact. When the Ice Age reaches its peak, when most of the planet becomes uninhabitable, these facilities will be among the last redoubts of organized human society. Someone has to survive to preserve knowledge, culture, technology, and we're making sure that someone includes the people with the skills and resources to maintain it across generations.
I asked him about the selection process, about the fact that wealth is the primary criterion.
These facilities cost billions of dollars to build and maintain. The engineering alone, the redundant systems, the supply chains, it's extraordinarily expensive. Someone has to pay for it. We're not a charity. We're not a government program. This is private infrastructure built with private capital. Should we apologize for that? I don't think so.
I asked him if he understood how that sounds to the billions of people who can't afford a spot.
I understand it sounds harsh, but here's the reality. The equatorial zones will remain habitable. India, Africa, Southeast Asia, Central and South America. The majority of humanity that survives will survive there, not in bunkers. Our facilities are for people who, for whatever reason, need an alternative, or who have skills that need to be preserved across generations. We're not trying to save everyone. We're trying to save civilization itself.
Here's what he didn't tell me. I've seen the rejection lists. Thousands of applications from doctors, engineers, scientists, all rejected despite having exactly the skills the vaults claim to need. Why? Because they couldn't pay. A Nobel Prize-winning climate scientist. Rejected. Not wealthy enough. A pediatric surgeon with 30 years' experience. Rejected. Can't afford the entrance fee. Meanwhile, trust fund heirs with no particular skills have secured spots. So have hedge fund managers. CEOs, people whose primary qualification is that they're rich. The skills requirement is window dressing. This is about money, period. The public response has been predictably furious. 3 weeks ago, protesters breached the perimeter of the Colorado facility. Armed security opened fire. 14 people were killed, 73 wounded. Similar incidents have occurred at facilities in Montana, Switzerland, and New Zealand. In Norway, the military had to be called in to repel what officials described as a coordinated assault by over 5,000 people. These aren't violent extremists. These are ordinary people. Families, parents trying to get their children inside. Elderly people who know they won't survive on the surface. And they're being shot for trying to live. Here's the question I keep coming back to. What is civilization? Is it art and music and scientific knowledge preserved in a bunker? Or is it the principle that we take care of each other? That we don't abandon the vulnerable? That survival isn't something you can buy? If civilization is just wealth and power protecting itself while everyone else freezes, then maybe it doesn't deserve to survive. maybe what emerges in the equatorial zones, built by the people who actually have to rely on each other, maybe that's the civilization worth preserving. One final thought. These bunkers are designed to last for generations, to house entire populations through an ice age that may never end in their lifetimes. But they're not designed to last forever. Eventually, those doors might open, and when they do, when the people inside emerge into whatever world exists then, they're going to have to face the descendants of everyone they left outside to die. I wonder how that conversation will go. This has been a special investigation. I'm Laura Biderman.
All right. So I've been trying to wrap my head around what's coming, and there's a lot of conflicting information out there. So I reached out to Dr. Terry Rapson, who's been with NASA for, 20-some years?
23 years. Yeah.
And you've been the public face of this whole thing, the announcement a month ago. So let's just start with where we are. 7 million miles, that's the projection for Earth's orbital displacement, right?
That's correct. We've run the simulations hundreds of times. Different teams, different methodologies, different supercomputers. They all converge on the same answer. 7 million miles.
And that's enough for an ice age?
More than enough. Earth currently orbits at 93 million miles from the Sun. After the encounter, we'll be at 100 million miles. That's a 13.5% increase in distance. And because of the inverse square law, solar radiation drops by the same percentage, 13.5%.
What does that translate to, temperature-wise?
Global average temperature will drop 12 to 15 degrees Celsius within 18 months. Ice sheets will form at the poles and start advancing. Growing seasons will collapse. Most temperate zones will become uninhabitable. Humanity will only survive in a narrow band around the equator, roughly 35 degrees north to 35 degrees south.
How many people die?
5 to 6 billion within the first 5 years.
Holy shit. That's most of the planet.
Yes, most of the planet.
Okay, so let's talk about Project Orion. Nuclear weapons to push Earth back into orbit. Does it work? Is that actually possible?
In theory, the physics are sound on paper. You use directed nuclear explosions to create thrust. The original Project Orion from the 1950s was designed to propel spacecraft. We're scaling it up, way up.
But you sound, cautiously optimistic?
I'd say hopeful. Look, the math is theoretical. We've never done anything like this. We're talking about using 13,000 nuclear warheads in a precisely choreographed sequence to add velocity to an entire planet. The margin for error is microscopic. One detonation out of sequence, one miscalculation in the timing, and the whole thing fails. But it's our best shot, maybe our only shot.
Walk me through what happens if it doesn't work. What's the alternative? What are people doing to prepare?
After the brown dwarf was discovered, after we understood what was coming, construction began on the vaults. Deep underground facilities, former missile silos, mountain complexes, designed to shelter people through the ice age if Orion doesn't succeed. They're not just short-term shelters. They're meant to sustain populations for generations if necessary.
Generations? So this isn't a few years underground. This is, permanent?
If Orion fails, yes. The ice age won't be temporary. It'll last as long as Earth remains in this new orbit. The vaults are designed for long-term survival, geothermal power, hydroponic food production, air and water recycling, everything needed for however long it takes.
And who gets in? How do they decide that?
That's the hard question. Capacity is extremely limited, maybe 50,000 people total across all facilities worldwide. The selection criteria, I'm not involved in that, but from what I understand, it's a mix of essential skills, ability to contribute to long-term survival, and, yes, ability to pay. It's not fair. It's triage on a civilizational scale.
That's pretty dark, man. So Orion is really the hope. That's what everyone's counting on.
Yes, Orion is the hope. Here's the thing, though. Even if the odds aren't perfect, even if this is the longest of long shots, the attempt itself matters. We're bringing together every nuclear power on Earth. Russians, Americans, Chinese, everyone. They're all contributing their weapons to a single coordinated effort. That's never happened. And if we succeed, we save billions of lives. If we fail, at least we'll have proven we could cooperate on that scale. At least we tried.
This is heavy. I don't even know what to say. Thank you for being here, for talking us through this.
People deserve to understand what's happening. All of it. The hope and the reality.
Stay safe out there, Dr. Rapson.
We interrupt this broadcast for a special announcement from the United Nations. What we're about to show you represents, and I'm choosing these words carefully, the most ambitious international cooperation in human history. An emergency session of the UN Security Council concluded just hours ago with a unanimous resolution. All nuclear powers have pledged their arsenals to a single purpose, an attempt to prevent the orbital displacement entirely. Dr. Terry Rapson from NASA is with us to explain what they're calling Project Orion Earth. Dr. Rapson, this sounds, frankly, it sounds like science fiction.
Jackson, in a way it is. Project Orion was originally conceived in the 1950s as a spacecraft propulsion system. The idea was to detonate nuclear weapons behind a spacecraft to create thrust. We're adapting that principle. Instead of propelling a spacecraft, we're going to attempt to add velocity to Earth itself. Here's how it works. We've calculated the exact moment when Fimbulwinter's gravitational influence will begin pulling Earth outward. In that same moment, we'll begin a coordinated sequence of nuclear detonations in space, precisely timed, precisely positioned. The goal is to create enough directional thrust to counteract the gravitational displacement.
How many nuclear weapons are we talking about?
Approximately 13,000 warheads. The United States is contributing 5,000, Russia 4,000, China 1,500. The UK, France, India, Pakistan, Israel, and North Korea are contributing their entire arsenals. It represents 97% of the world's nuclear weapons, detonated over a 48-hour window in a precisely choreographed sequence.
13,000 nuclear detonations. What are the chances of success?
We estimate 30 to 40%. I won't lie to you. The physics are, they're at the very edge of what we understand. We're trying to move an entire planet, but the alternative is accepting the 7 million mile displacement and everything that comes with it. This is This is our shot, maybe our only shot.
We're going to go now to the President's address from the Rose Garden.
My fellow Americans, and really, citizens of the world, because this is big league, bigger than anything. Today, we're announcing something incredible, fantastic. When they first came to me with this plan, the scientists, the generals, they said, Mr. President, we want to use nuclear weapons to save the planet. And I said, what? But then I listened. I'm a good listener, tremendous listener, actually. And you know what? This is going to work. Believe me, we've got 13,000 nuclear weapons, 13,000 United States, 5,000 beautiful weapons, the best. Russia, 4,000, China, France, the UK, India, Pakistan, even North Korea. Kim Jong-un called me. Very nice call. He said, Mr. President, take our nukes, use them, save the world. Can you believe that? Everybody working together. Russians, Americans, Chinese, everybody. It's beautiful. It really is. You know, it reminds me of this movie, Armageddon. Great movie. Bruce Willis. I love that movie. Watched it many times. So they've got this asteroid coming, and they send up these drillers, oil drillers, to drill into the asteroid and blow it up. And I remember watching that thinking, wait a minute, wouldn't it be easier to train astronauts to drill than to train drillers to be astronauts? I mean, think about it. You've got astronauts. They're already in space. They know how to work in space. Just teach them to use a drill, right? But no, they train oil workers to be astronauts. Never made sense to me. Still doesn't. But it's a great movie. Anyway, this is like that, except we're not drilling anything. We're using the nukes to push Earth. And we've got actual astronauts doing it, not oil workers. So we learned from that mistake. Now, some people, they hear 30-40% chance and they say, oh, that's not good. Wrong. A month ago, we had 0%, zero. We were done. Now we've got 40%. That's fantastic. And I'll tell you something, I think it's going to be higher, much higher. When you get this many people, this many countries working together on something, incredible things happen. I've seen it. We're going to shock ourselves. We really are. 7 months from today, mark your calendars. We've got ships, 47 ships from 12 countries, assembling in the Pacific, international, beautiful cooperation. They're going to position these weapons, detonate them in perfect sequence, and push Earth back where it belongs. And all 8 billion of us, we're going to watch together. It's going to be the biggest thing ever. Some people ask me, they say, Mr. President, what if it doesn't work? And I say, at least we tried. Humanity's finest moment isn't succeeding. It's fighting. It's saying no to doom. It's taking every weapon we ever built to destroy each other and using them to save each other instead. That's beautiful. That really is. Win or lose, we didn't give up. We fought. And that's something to be proud of. Very proud. So to everyone listening, every country, every language, I say this. Have hope. Real hope. We're not done. Not even close. We're going to save this planet. We're going to do something incredible. God bless you all. God bless Earth. And God bless Project Orion. Thank you. Thank you very much.
The President speaking there from the Rose Garden, and already we're seeing reaction from around the world. Stock markets, which have been in free fall for weeks, are rallying. The Dow is up 23%. There are reports of spontaneous celebrations in cities worldwide, people gathering in streets, in town squares, crying, embracing strangers. Harry Stamper is in Times Square in New York. Harry, what's it like there?
Jackson, I've never seen anything like this. There are thousands of people here, just gathered. Some are praying, some are singing. I talked to a woman who said she'd lost all hope. She'd quit her job, stopped paying her mortgage, was just waiting. And now she says she feels like maybe there's a future again. Maybe. The mood is, it's electric, Jackson. People needed this. They needed to believe we're not just, sitting here waiting to die. Even if it's only a 40% chance, that's 40% more than we had yesterday.
We're going to continue our coverage, but for now, for the first time in months, There's hope, real hope. Whether it's justified, whether the physics will work, we won't know until 7 months from now. But tonight, humanity has something it hasn't had in a long time. A plan, a chance. And that, in the face of what we're confronting, is extraordinary. To everyone who worked on Project Orion, to the scientists who designed it, the engineers who built it, the fleet personnel who will execute it, to every nation that contributed, thank you. Now we wait. We'll have continuing coverage as the world processes what we've just witnessed. For now, there's hope. Maybe, please let there be hope. We are minutes away from the beginning of Project Orion. 47 naval vessels positioned across the Pacific Ocean. 13,000 nuclear warheads ready to detonate in a precisely choreographed sequence over the next 48 hours. The goal is to use the thrust from these explosions to counteract Fimbulwinter's gravitational pull, to keep Earth from being displaced as far from the Sun. The first wave will detonate 2,000 devices simultaneously. The sky over the Pacific will light up. People across Asia, Australia, the Americas, they'll see it. This is humanity's last attempt to save our orbit. Let's listen to Mission Control.
Project Orion, this is Houston. T-minus 5 minutes to first wave detonation. All fleet elements report weapons armed and positioned. Synchronization locks confirmed across all devices. Detonation altitude 800 kilometers. We are go for sequence initiation. T-minus 2 minutes. Final trajectory calculations complete. Fimbulwinter gravitational influence measured and locked. First wave consists of 2,000 devices, designed to create directional thrust opposing orbital displacement. Transferring to automated sequencer. T-minus 60 seconds. All personnel in radiation safe zones. Shielding active on all vessels. 30 seconds. 20, 15, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Execute first wave. Detonation confirmed. 2,000 simultaneous flashes across Pacific Theater. Radiation sensors spiking. EMP effects within predicted parameters. Visual confirmation. The sky is. It's lighting up. Reports coming in from observation posts. Tokyo, Sydney, Los Angeles, San Francisco. They can see it. The entire Pacific sky is glowing.
Incredible. We're getting reports from across the Pacific Rim. People describing the sky as brilliant white. Multiple suns appearing for seconds at a time. 2,000 nuclear detonations, all at once, 800 kilometers above the Pacific Ocean.
First wave telemetry analysis in progress. Seismographs detecting atmospheric pressure wave. Radiation levels elevated but within safety margins for fleet personnel. Initial thrust vector measurements indicate successful directional effect. Too early to determine total velocity change. Next wave scheduled for 6 hours from now.
The first wave of Project Orion. 2,000 nuclear weapons detonated to push Earth back, to counteract the gravitational displacement. 11,000 devices remain. The sequence will continue over the next 48 hours. Wave after wave. Everything humanity has, all to keep our planet from being pulled too far from the Sun. We'll continue monitoring as the sequence progresses. As more waves detonate. As we learn whether this worked. Whether we can save our orbit. For now, the sky over the Pacific is still glowing, and we wait. Stay with us.
We just watched it. 48 hours of nuclear detonations lighting up the sky. 13,000 warheads. The entire nuclear arsenal of every major power on Earth. All at once. And I'm telling you right now, it didn't work. They knew it wouldn't work, and they did it anyway. I've been saying this for months. The physics don't work. You cannot move a planet with nuclear weapons. The energy scales are wrong. Orders of magnitude wrong. Any physicist worth their degree knows this, and they knew it. NASA knew it. The governments knew it. So why did they do it? Why did they waste 7 months and 13,000 nuclear weapons on something they knew would fail? Because it bought them time. 7 months of you believing there was hope? 7 months of you not rioting, not storming the ARC facilities, not demanding answers? They gave you a golden calf to worship, and you worshiped it. You believed. And now, when they come back in 2 weeks and tell you it failed, you're going to be devastated, broken, easier to control. But here's what really gets me. Those 13,000 nuclear weapons, that was our entire defensive arsenal. The weapons that kept the peace for 70 years, mutually assured destruction, and they just detonated all of them in space for nothing. So now, when the Ice Age hits, when resources get scarce, when nations start fighting over the equatorial zones, guess what? No nukes. They disarmed the world, and you cheered for it. Think about who benefits from this. The elite and their arcs don't need nuclear deterrence. They're underground, protected. But the rest of us, the billions trying to survive on the surface, we just lost the only weapons that could have kept warlords and dictators in check. This was planned. This was always the plan. Disarm the world under the guise of saving it. And we fell for it. I know some of you are still holding out hope. You're thinking, maybe it worked. Maybe Charlie's wrong this time. And I genuinely hope I am. I hope I'm completely wrong, but I'm not. The math doesn't lie. The physics doesn't lie. They lied. They've been lying from the beginning. And in 2 weeks, when they announced the failure, remember this moment. Remember that someone told you the truth. Remember that you had a choice to prepare and you chose to hope instead. What do you do now? Stop waiting for salvation from above. Stop trusting the official narrative. If you're not already moving toward the equator, start now, today. Build networks. Find people you can trust. Prepare for the worst, because it's coming. And when it does, the only people who survive will be the ones who saw it coming and acted. This is Charlie Frost. I was right about the 1 million mile lie. I was right about the 7 million reality. And I'm right about this. They knew. They've always known. And they're counting on you to figure it out too late.
We're standing by for a press conference from NASA headquarters. It's been 2 weeks since the detonation sequence concluded. 2 weeks of waiting. The refined orbital measurements are in. And we're being told the results are, they're not good. I'm going to be honest with you. The tone from our sources has been grim. No one is using words like success. No one is expressing hope. We're about to find out if the last 7 months, if Project Orion, if all of it meant anything. Here's Dr. Terry Rapson.
Thank you all for being here. This is the hardest thing I've ever had to say. Project Orion has failed. Over the past 2 weeks, our teams at NASA, ESA, Roscosmos, CNSA, every major space agency, we've been running continuous measurements of Earth's orbital velocity and trajectory. We've checked and rechecked the data, run the calculations dozens of times, and the result is unambiguous. The detonation sequence had zero measurable effect on Earth's orbit. Zero. In fact, and I need to be completely transparent about this, some of our data suggests the detonations may have destabilized the orbit by approximately 0.3 micrometers. That's negligible, effectively meaningless. But technically, we may have made it infinitesimally worse. Earth's orbital displacement will proceed exactly as calculated. 7 million miles, 13.5% reduction in solar radiation. The climate effects we've been dreading, they're going to happen. all of them.
Dr. Rapson, for those of us who watched the detonation sequence, who saw the sky light up for 48 straight hours, this is, how do we process this? Was it all for nothing?
I don't know how to answer that. The physics were always uncertain. We knew it was a long shot, but we had to try. We had to do something. Was it for nothing? In terms of changing the outcome, yes, it was for nothing. But in terms of proving that humanity could cooperate on that scale, that we could try, maybe that means something. Right now, it doesn't feel like it means much.
There are reports that you and others in the program knew the odds were much worse than the 30 to 40% that was publicly stated. Is that true?
No, we always knew the odds were against us. But we had to try. We needed to give people hope, even if the chances were low. We had 7 months of hope. Remember, hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. Maybe those 7 months of hope were worth it.
Were they?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'm sorry. I can't do this right now.
Dr. Rapson has left the podium. We're going to take a moment here. What you just witnessed was a man carrying the weight of knowing he gave false hope to 8 billion people. Whether that was the right thing to do, I don't know either. We're getting reports from around the world. In New York, where thousands had gathered in Times Square in celebration 2 weeks ago, people are now sitting in silence, some openly weeping. Stock markets, which had recovered significantly after the Orion announcement, are in free fall. Trading has been suspended in multiple countries. We're also getting reports of, I'm being told there's been a significant spike in emergency services calls. Suicide prevention hotlines are overwhelmed. This is the moment when the last anchor of hope has been cut. This is when people truly understand what's coming. Harry Stamper is in Los Angeles, where riots have broken out at one of the vault facilities. Harry?
Jackson, it's chaos here. Thousands of people are trying to breach the perimeter. Security they're using live ammunition. I can hear gunfire. People are they're desperate, Jackson. They thought Orion would work. We all did. And now that it's failed, now that there's no other option, they're trying to force their way into the vaults, trying to save themselves any way they can. This is happening at multiple facilities. We're getting reports from Colorado, from Montana, from New Zealand. The hope is gone, Jackson, and what's replacing it is rage and desperation and fear.
We're also joined by Dr. Jack Hall. Dr. Hall, we spoke 7 months ago when the Orion project was announced. You were skeptical. Does this outcome surprise you?
No. I wish it did. The physics never made sense. Moving a planet requires, the energy scales are just orders of magnitude beyond what nuclear weapons can provide. But I understood why they tried. I understood why they gave people hope. And now we have to live with the consequences of that hope being crushed. The orbital displacement will happen exactly as I calculated 9 months ago. 7 million miles. Global temperature drop of 12 to 15 degrees Celsius. Ice age conditions within 2 years. The window for preparation has been wasted on false hope. And now, billions more will die than had to.
So what do we do now?
We prepare for what's actually coming. We stop pretending there's a way out. We help as many people as possible get to the equatorial zones. We preserve what knowledge we can. We try to keep some semblance of civilization intact. And we accept that the world we knew is over. The hope is gone. Now comes the reality.
We'll continue our coverage throughout the evening. For now, all I can say is, I'm sorry. We all hoped, we all believed, and we were wrong. This is Jackson Curtis. Stay safe, stay together, and prepare for what's coming. Good evening. It's been 3 months since Project Orion failed. 3 months since the last anchor of hope was severed. Tonight we're seeing the acceleration of something we've been documenting for weeks. The breakdown, not sudden collapse, but a slow-motion disintegration of the infrastructure that holds civilization together. Power grids are failing in regions where the population has largely evacuated. Workers simply aren't showing up. Can you blame them? The technician who maintained the substation in Duluth, Minnesota, is now living in a tent city outside Phoenix. The grid supervisor in Edmonton fled to Vancouver 3 weeks ago. Without people to run the systems fail. Harry Stamper has been documenting the exodus from northern cities. Harry, you're in Detroit tonight. What are you seeing?
Jackson, Detroit is a ghost town. The population here has dropped 80% in 3 months. I'm standing in what used to be a busy commercial district. Every storefront is either boarded up or has broken windows. There are cars abandoned in the streets, some with keys still in the ignition. People just left. The power is out in most neighborhoods. The few people still here are using generators, but fuel is scarce. I talked to a man who's staying because, in his words, this is his home. He was born here 72 years ago. He'll die here. He's not the only one. There are maybe 15,000 people left out of a pre-crisis population of over 600,000. The holdouts, the ones who won't or can't leave.
We're seeing this pattern across the northern tier of the United States and Canada. Cities north of the 50th parallel are losing 60 to 90% of their populations. Laura Chapman is in Europe, where a similar exodus is underway. Laura?
Jackson, I'm in Marseille on the southern coast of France. This city has become what people are calling the new north of Europe. The population here has tripled. Refugees from Paris, from Brussels, from Amsterdam, from cities across northern Europe are pouring into the Mediterranean coast. But it's not just about geography. The Gulf Stream, which has kept Europe warmer than it should be at these latitudes for millennia, is showing signs of weakening. Scientists are predicting a 60 to 70% reduction in flow. That means Europe will cool faster and more severely than other regions at the same latitude. London, at 51 degrees north, could see temperatures equivalent to northern Canada.
We're also monitoring the situation in the southern hemisphere. Harry, you just returned from Australia. What's happening there?
Australia is becoming one of the prime refuges, Jackson. The northern half of the continent, everything above Brisbane, is seeing massive population growth, but it's creating an extraordinary tension. The Australian government initially opened borders, accepting climate refugees, but 3 weeks ago they reversed course. Now there are military checkpoints, strict quotas. It's brutal. Families being separated, people turned away at gunpoint. The justification is resource scarcity. There's only so much water, so much food, so much infrastructure, but the optics are horrific. One official told me, off the record, that they're trying to prevent future violence by limiting current immigration. Better to turn people away now than have everyone starve later. That's the calculation. Cold, brutal, maybe necessary. I don't know anymore.
The equatorial regions are experiencing similar pressures. Jakarta's population has reportedly tripled in 10 weeks. Mexico City, Mumbai, Sao Paulo, all seeing unsustainable population growth. And the infrastructure it wasn't designed for this. Dr. Ronald Quincy joins us with an update on Fimbulwinter itself. Dr. Quincy, where is the object now?
Jackson, Fimbulwinter is now approximately 4 months away from closest approach. It's visible through amateur telescopes as a dim red point of light. But within a few weeks, it will be visible to the naked eye. That's going to be a profound psychological moment. Right now it's abstract, data, numbers. But when you can look up and see it in the sky, when you can point at the thing that's going to change Earth forever, that's when it becomes real in a different way. The moon is already showing orbital perturbations that are visible to careful observers. Its path across the sky is not wrong exactly, but slightly off. Tides are becoming less predictable. Nothing catastrophic yet, but the gravitational influence is already being felt.
We're also seeing the breakdown of global communication networks. Grace Curtis from FEMA is with us. Director Curtis, help us understand what's happening to our infrastructure.
Jackson, the internet as we've known it is fragmenting. Major data centers in northern regions are going offline as power fails and personnel evacuate. Satellite networks are still functioning, but we're seeing increased failures, some from lack of maintenance, some from deliberate sabotage. People angry at systems they feel abandoned them. Commercial air travel has ceased entirely as of last week. The last scheduled passenger flight landed in Sao Paulo 2 days ago. Some private and military aircraft are still operating, but commercial aviation is done. The crews won't work. The maintenance staff has fled. The whole system has collapsed.
There are reports from Paris that the Louvre is being evacuated, the Mona Lisa, the Venus de Milo. Curators are trying to decide what can be saved and transported south, what has to be left behind. It's not just art. Libraries are making similar decisions. Which books do you save? How do you choose? Religious movements are experiencing extraordinary growth. Apocalyptic faiths, end times prophecies, but also movements focused on comfort, on community, on finding meaning in the face of this. People need to believe this means something, that there's purpose in the suffering. Dr. Quincy, one final question. You mentioned Fimbulwinter will become visible to the naked eye soon. How soon?
2 weeks, maybe 3. It will appear as a reddish point of light, brighter than Mars, moving slowly across the sky. Every night it will grow a little brighter, a little larger. By the time it reaches closest approach, it will dominate the sky. But those first nights, when people look up and see it for the first time, that's when the waiting ends and the reality begins.
2 weeks. We'll continue our coverage as systems fail, as people flee, as we wait for the sky to change. This is the long wait. The hardest part, knowing what's coming, unable to stop it. We'll be here, broadcasting as long as we can, for as long as the power holds.
Brothers and sisters, I stand before you tonight as the red light grows in our sky. Fimbulwinter, the object that will change everything. It's up there right now, visible, unavoidable, a reminder that our time is short. And I want to talk to you about hope, not the false hope we were sold, not Project Orion, not human ingenuity, real hope, the kind that doesn't fail. In the book of Lamentations, chapter 3, verses 22 and 23, it says, "The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases, His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness." Every morning, even this morning, with that red point in the sky growing larger, even tomorrow morning and the morning after, His mercies are new. His love doesn't cease. I know it's hard to believe that right now. I know some of you are looking at the sky and thinking, where is God in this? How can there be mercy in an ice age? And I understand that question. I've asked it myself. Late at night, when the red glow keeps me awake, I've asked it. But here's what I've come to understand. God didn't promise us comfort. He didn't promise us safety. He didn't promise us that our lives would be long or easy. What He promised was His presence. In Isaiah chapter 43, verse 2, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. When you walk through fire, you shall not be burned, not if you pass through," when suffering is part of life, but God walks through it with us. I see people leaving, families packing up, heading south, abandoning homes they've lived in for generations, and it breaks my heart. But I also see something beautiful. I see neighbors helping neighbors load trucks. I see strangers offering rides to people they've never met. I see children sharing their toys with other children who have nothing left. That's Christ's love, working through human hands. In the darkest moment, love still shines. Some of you are staying. Some of you have decided This is my home. This is where I'll remain. And I'm not going to tell you that's wrong. Everyone has to make their own choice. But if you're staying, stay with purpose. Be there for others who are staying. Be a light in the darkness. Because when the ice comes, and it will come, people will need to see that love didn't abandon this place, that humanity didn't abandon this place. And if you're leaving, carry this with you. Wherever you go, whatever you face, you are not alone. Psalm 139, verse 7. Where shall I go from your spirit, or where shall I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. You cannot outrun God. You cannot escape His love, not in the equatorial zones, not in the arcs, not anywhere. I want to close tonight with a prayer for those who are leaving, for those who are staying, for those who don't know what to do. Heavenly Father, we are afraid. We don't understand why this is happening, but we trust that you are with us. Give us strength for the journey ahead. Give us compassion for those who suffer. Give us hope, not in our own plans, but in your eternal love. Help us to be lights in the darkness, to love when it's hard, to forgive when it hurts, to remain human even as the world freezes. We know the ice age is coming, but we also know you are already there, waiting for us. In Jesus' name, amen. Go in peace, church. Not because the world is at peace, but because He is our peace. No matter what comes, no matter how dark it gets, He is with us, now and always. Amen.
Good evening. As we speak, the last of the vault facilities are sealing their doors. 50,000 people locked away in underground complexes scattered across the globe. They'll live out the rest of their lives there. Entire generations born and raised underground. Never seeing sunlight, never feeling rain. That's the price of survival in these facilities. Complete isolation from the surface world, permanent, for however long it takes. But tonight, for the rest of us, for the first time, you don't need a telescope to see what's coming. Step outside, look east just after sunset. That reddish point of light, brighter than any star, brighter than Mars or Jupiter. That's Fimbulwinter. We've been telling you about it for 9 months, showing you diagrams, orbital projections, numbers. But tonight it's not abstract anymore. Tonight you can see the object that will drag Earth 7 million miles farther from the sun. You can point at it. Ronald Quincy is at the Palomar Observatory. Dr. Quincy, walk us through what we're seeing.
Jackson, what you're seeing is thermal radiation from an object the size of a gas giant planet. Brown dwarfs are failed stars. They didn't have quite enough mass to ignite fusion in their cores, but they still retain heat from their formation. Fimbulwinter has a surface temperature around 1300 Kelvin. That's over 1,000 degrees Celsius. Hot enough to glow a dull red? Right now it appears as a point source. But as it approaches over the next 3 months, it will develop an apparent disk. You'll be able to see it as a sphere, dark red, moving against the background stars. At closest approach, it will appear roughly 1/5 the size of the full moon. Small enough that most people won't perceive it as anything but a very large, very bright star. But it's there. 15 times more massive than Jupiter, approaching at 47 kilometers per second.
We have reporters positioned around the world to capture the first reactions. Harry Stamper is in Tokyo, where the sun has just set. Harry.
Jackson, I'm in Ueno Park in central Tokyo. There are thousands of people here. Families, couples, groups of friends. Everyone looking east. The mood is, it's somber, quiet. I heard one woman say to her husband, So that's what the end of the world looks like. Just a red dot. There's a group of astronomers here with telescopes set up. They're letting people look through the eyepieces. When you look through the telescope, you can see it's not quite a point anymore. It's starting to resolve as a tiny disk, dark red. One astronomer told me it looks like a drop of blood against the blackness of space. That's what it looks like.
Laura Chapman is in Sao Paulo. Laura, what are you seeing there?
Jackson, Sao Paulo has become one of the major refuge cities. The population has nearly quadrupled in the past 4 months. And tonight, all those millions of refugees are seeing the thing that drove them from their homes. I'm seeing people crying, some are praying. There's a large group holding a vigil at a local cathedral. I spoke with a family from Chile. They fled north 3 months ago. The mother told me, we knew it was coming. We saw the charts, the projections, but seeing it with your own eyes, it makes you realize there's no escape, nowhere to run. This is happening.
Social media is being flooded with images. People photographing that red point with their phones, posting images. The most common caption is simply, I see you, as if acknowledging the object somehow makes it less terrifying. I see you, I know what you are, I know what you're going to do. Dr. Quincy, as Fimbulwinter approaches over the next 3 months, how will it change in appearance?
It will grow brighter, larger. Within a month, it will be the brightest object in the night sky after the moon. Within 2 months, you'll be able to see cloud bands with a decent pair of binoculars. It's a gas giant, so it has weather, storms, the same kind of atmospheric dynamics you see on Jupiter, but glowing in infrared. As it approaches closest approach, the gravitational effects will intensify. Tidal forces on Earth will increase. We'll see higher ocean tides, more seismic activity. The moon's orbit will become noticeably perturbed. And then, at the moment of closest approach, 3 days of maximum gravitational stress, that's when Earth's orbit will shift.
We're hearing reports of renewed religious gatherings. In Jerusalem, the Western Wall Plaza is packed with thousands of people. In Rome, St. Peter's Square, Mecca, Varanasi, people gathering at holy sites to what? Pray? Seek comfort? Maybe just to be together, to not face this alone. I want to read you something. This was posted online by an astrophysicist named Elena Vasquez. She writes, we are living through a cosmic event, something that happens perhaps once every 100 million years, an encounter between our world and a rogue stellar object. It's terrifying, catastrophic, but it's also, she writes, it's also beautiful, that we are here to witness it, that we understand what we're seeing. That makes us remarkable. I don't know if I'd call it beautiful, but I understand what she means. We are witnesses to something extraordinary, something that will be recorded in whatever history survives this. Humanity lived through the Fimbulwinter Event. We saw it coming. We tried to stop it. And when we couldn't, we watched it happen, together.
Jackson, I need to tell you something I'm seeing here. A young couple just got engaged right here in the park, underneath that red light. He proposed. She said yes. People are applauding. Some are crying. Life continues, even now, especially now.
We're going to continue our coverage throughout the night. As the Earth rotates, people around the world will see Fimbulwinter for the first time. We'll be here documenting, reporting, bearing witness to the night the end became visible. If you're watching this, go outside tonight. Look east. Find that red point. You're looking at the object that will change everything. But you're also looking at something remarkable. A visitor from interstellar space. A failed star. Something ancient and powerful and, yes, beautiful in its terrible way. This is first light, the beginning of the end. We're interrupting our regular coverage for a special address from President Thomas Wilson. This comes as Fimbulwinter becomes visible to the naked eye for the first time tonight. We go now live to the White House.
My fellow Americans, good evening. By now, many of you have stepped outside and seen it. That red point in the eastern sky, brighter than any star, that's Fimbulwinter. The object that has dominated our lives for the past 9 months is no longer something we need telescopes to see. It's there, visible proof that what's coming for us is real. I know what many of you are feeling right now. I'm feeling it too. Fear, uncertainty, the weight of knowing that in 3 months, that red dot will pass within 1.8 million miles of our planet. Closer than anything of its size has come to Earth in recorded history. Probably closer than anything has come in millions of years. 7 months ago, I stood before you and announced Project Orion, the most ambitious undertaking in human history. 13,000 nuclear warheads coordinated across 12 nations in a 48-hour sequence. We executed it flawlessly, every single detonation on schedule, and it failed. Earth's orbit didn't budge, not even measurably. I won't stand here and make excuses. We threw everything we had at this problem, the combined nuclear arsenal of the entire world. And it wasn't enough. Sometimes in life, you do everything right and still lose. That's not a failure of effort. That's just physics on a scale we can't match. We tried to move a planet, and we learned we can't. So here's where we are. In approximately 90 days, Fimbulwinter will reach closest approach. For 72 hours, Earth will experience gravitational stress unlike anything in human memory. Earthquakes, tsunamis, tidal disruptions. Our scientists project casualties in the billions during the encounter itself. And then, after it passes, we'll be 7 million miles farther from the sun, permanently. I'm not going to lie to you about what that means. Global temperatures will drop 12 to 15 degrees Celsius. Within 18 months, ice sheets will begin advancing from the poles. Most of North America, most of Europe, most of Asia will become uninhabitable. The growing seasons we depend on, gone. The climate zones we've built our civilization around, gone. What's coming is an ice age, a real one, not the kind you see in movies, the kind that reshapes continents and ends civilizations. Here's what we're doing. Over the next 90 days, we're facilitating the largest migration in human history, moving populations from temperate zones to equatorial regions, India, Africa, Southeast Asia, Central and South America. These zones will remain habitable. Not easy, not comfortable, but survivable. We're working with every nation on Earth to coordinate this movement, to share resources, to keep order, to preserve as much of our civilization as we can. I want to address something directly. The vault facilities. 50,000 people sealed in underground bunkers. People have asked me, why them? Why not more? The answer is simple and terrible. We can't. Those facilities took years to build, cost billions. We don't have time to build more. We don't have the resources. So yes, 50,000 people will survive underground, and billions more will have to adapt on the surface. That's not fair, but it's reality. Now, what I need from you, if you're in a temperate zone, start preparing to move. Follow government evacuation guidelines. Don't wait until the last minute. If you're already in an equatorial region, prepare to receive refugees. Millions of them, maybe billions. We're all going to have to make room, share resources, help strangers. It's either that, or we tear each other apart while the ice claims what's left. Look, I'm not going to stand here and quote poetry about gentle nights or finest hours. This isn't our finest hour. This is just us trying to survive something we never expected. There's no glory in it. No movie ending where the hero saves the day. We're not going to stop Fimbulwinter. We're not going to fix Earth's orbit. We're just going to endure. And endurance, unglamorous as it is still something. My grandfather survived the Depression. Not through heroics, just through getting up every morning and doing what had to be done, day after day after day, until it was over. That's what we're looking at now, getting up, doing what has to be done for years, maybe decades, maybe generations, until we adapt, until we build something new in whatever world is left. So tonight, when you look up at that red point in the sky, remember something. Humanity has survived ice ages before. Our ancestors did it with stone tools and animal skins. We have technology, we have knowledge, we have each other. We can do this. It won't be pretty, it won't be easy, but we can survive. God bless you all. God bless humanity. And for whatever it's worth, God bless this fragile planet we call home. Good night.
President Wilson speaking there from the White House. We'll continue our coverage throughout the night as Fimbulwinter becomes visible to billions of people around the world for the first time. Emergency broadcast. Jackson Curtis reporting. We are approximately 30 minutes from closest approach with Fimbulwinter. The object now dominates the sky, taking up nearly 7 degrees of the visible horizon. That's 14 times larger than the moon appears. The entire sky is bathed in red light. 2 days ago, Fimbulwinter was 3 times the size of the moon. We thought that was terrifying. The tides had risen to 15 meters above normal. Earthquakes magnitude 5 or higher were striking somewhere on Earth every few hours. Radio communications began failing. The sky turned red even during daylight. We thought that was the worst it would get. Yesterday, 24 hours ago, conditions accelerated. Fimbulwinter grew to 4 times the moon's size. The sky turned blood red even at noon. Auroras appeared everywhere. Green and red curtains of light covering the entire planet. A massive tsunami struck the Pacific. 30 meters high, Tokyo, Manila, Honolulu, swept inland kilometers from the coast. Volcanic eruptions began. Kilauea in Hawaii, Mount Etna in Italy, multiple volcanoes across Indonesia and the Philippines. The Ring of Fire it's coming alive, and the moon. People have been reporting the moon looks wrong. Its position in the sky is changing, wobbling, being pulled. 12 hours ago, Fimbulwinter reached 5 times the moon's apparent size. We could see storm bands in its atmosphere, individual features, dark rust-red bands rotating slowly across its face. The upper atmosphere began glowing with continuous lightning, not regular lightning. Sheets of electrical discharge from Fimbulwinter's magnetic field interacting with Earth's. The tides rose to 25 meters. Entire coastlines are underwater. And the earthquakes. In the past 12 hours, we've recorded magnitude 8 or higher quakes on every continent. Major cities experiencing structural collapse, fires. The temperature has been swinging wildly, 10 degrees Celsius up and down as Fimbulwinter passes in front of the sun, blocking it, then moving aside. And now, right now, the ground is shaking constantly. A background tremor that doesn't stop. I want to go now to Dr. Jack Hall, who's been monitoring the gravitational effects. Dr. Hall, what are you measuring?
Jackson, the tidal forces they're distorting everything. We're measuring gravity anomalies across the planet. In some locations, objects weigh measurably less. In others, they're heavier. People are reporting feeling lighter. That's real. That's not their imagination. Fimbulwinter's gravity is warping Earth's gravitational field. The moon is being pulled off course. We can see it. Its position has shifted by degrees over the past day. The orbit is, we don't know what the final orbit will be. It may be significantly more elliptical. The tidal effects on Earth, on our oceans. This could be permanent changes we're seeing.
We're being told we're at closest approach now. 1.8 million miles from Earth, 7.5 times the distance to the moon. But Fimbulwinter it's massive. 15 Jupiter masses, and it fills the sky. Harry Stamper is in Atlanta, documenting conditions. Harry, what are you seeing?
Jackson, the sky is, I don't know how to describe this. Fimbulwinter takes up a massive section of the sky. You can see it rotating, storm bands moving across its face. And it's glowing, dull red. The entire sky has this red cast. Even though it's daytime, everything looks red, like Mars, like we're standing on another planet. The auroras they're everywhere. Green, red, purple, curtains of light covering the entire sky, and lightning. Not normal lightning, electrical discharges in the upper atmosphere. Sheets of light, the ground won't stop shaking, people are in the streets. They don't know whether to stay inside or go outside. There's nowhere safe.
We're getting reports of meteor activity. Multiple fireballs per minute streaking across the sky. Debris being pulled along Fimbulwinter's trajectory. Asteroids, comets, entering Earth's atmosphere. Most burning up, some making impact. We have reports of impacts in rural areas. No major population centers struck yet. The Pacific Ring of Fire. 12 major volcanic eruptions are in progress. Mount Fuji, Popocatépetl in Mexico. Multiple sites across Indonesia. The Cascades in Washington State. Yellowstone. There was extreme concern about Yellowstone, but so far, no eruption. The seismic activity there is off the charts, but it's holding. For now, tsunami warnings are active for every coastline on Earth. Waves are striking in succession. Not one tsunami, waves. The gravitational bulge created by Fimbulwinter is sloshing the oceans. Wave heights measured at 30 to 40 meters in the Pacific. Coastal cities, they're being swept away. Japan, Indonesia, the Philippines, the west coast of the Americas. The temperature is swinging 15 degrees up and down. Fimbulwinter blocks the sun, it plunges. Then it moves. Sunlight returns, it spikes. The atmosphere doesn't know how to respond. Wind patterns are chaotic. Tornadoes forming spontaneously across the American Midwest. The jet stream has collapsed.
Jackson, we're measuring Earth's orbital velocity. It's changing. We're slowing down. The displacement is happening. Right now, Fimbulwinter is pulling Earth outward, away from the sun. We won't know the final orbital parameters for days, but it's significant. The ice age is inevitable now.
Casualty estimates. Over the past 72 hours, 1 to 2 billion people are dead or missing. Most from the Pacific Rim. Earthquakes, tsunamis, building collapse, fires, some coastal regions. They're just gone. Entire cities underwater. And we're not through this yet. The maximum gravitational stress will last approximately 6 hours. We'll continue broadcasting as long as we have power. Communication satellites are failing from the magnetic interference. Power grids are collapsing. But we're still here, still broadcasting. For those of you listening, find shelter. Stay away from coastlines. Get to high ground. This is The Encounter. We'll be back. We're back with continuing coverage of the Fimbulwinter encounter. Jackson Curtis reporting. We're now in hour 3 of the closest approach. Reports are coming in from around the world, and they're catastrophic. From Tokyo, a magnitude 9.1 earthquake struck at local time 0300 hours, duration 3 minutes 17 seconds. Tsunami waves measuring 40 meters are hitting the coastline. 40 meters. That's a 13-story building. Coastal evacuation was ordered, but there wasn't enough time. Communications with the city are failing. Santiago, Chile. Magnitude 9.3. Emergency broadcasts report near total structural collapse across the downtown core. Fires burning throughout the city. First responders overwhelmed. The death toll is, we don't have numbers yet, but it's catastrophic. Mumbai, India. Coastal flooding from tidal surge estimated at 35 meters. Low-lying areas of the city are completely submerged. Millions attempting to evacuate inland. Roads are impassable. The situation is, it's dire. London. The Thames barrier has failed. Tidal surge of 20 meters flooding central London. The underground is flooding. Westminster, the city, Buckingham Palace is surrounded by water. Evacuation ongoing, but the infrastructure can't handle this. Jakarta, Indonesia. Multiple magnitude 8 earthquakes in the past hour. Volcanic eruptions at Mount Merapi and Mount Semeru. Tsunami waves hitting the coast repeatedly. The entire region it's in chaos. We're losing contact with our bureau there. Mexico City. Magnitude 8.7. Widespread building collapse. Popocatépetl volcano erupting with ash column reaching 20 kilometers. Ash fall across the metropolitan area. Visibility near zero. Emergency services unable to respond effectively. San Francisco. Magnitude 8.9 along the San Andreas Fault. The Golden Gate Bridge has collapsed. The Bay Bridge has collapsed. Fires burning across the city. Oakland, Berkeley, major structural damage throughout the Bay Area. Tsunami warnings in effect for the entire West Coast. And from the Pacific Ocean. A cargo vessel, the Pacific Star, reporting waves from multiple directions. Ocean currents shifting minute by minute. Their last transmission warned all vessels to stay off the water. We've lost contact with them since. We're going to go now to the International Space Station. Commander John Ballantyne has been observing the encounter from orbit. Commander, what are you seeing?
Jackson, the view from here is, I don't have words. Fimbulwinter occupies a massive section of the sky. We can see individual storm bands rotating. Dark burgundy, rust red. It's glowing. Thermal emission. And it's illuminating Earth's night side. The entire planet is bathed in red light. And the aurora is covering the entire visible hemisphere. Green, red, purple. Stretching from pole to pole. Pulsing continuously. I can see lightning storms across the Pacific. Massive electrical discharges. The atmosphere is glowing from the magnetic field interaction. But Jackson, the moon it's moving. We've been tracking it for the past 6 hours and its position has shifted noticeably. Degrees of arc. Fimbulwinter's gravity is pulling it. The orbit is changing. We can see it happening in real time. The moon is dancing in the sky. I don't know what the final orbit will look like, whether it will stabilize, whether we'll keep it. The tidal forces they're extreme. We might lose the moon. I hope we don't. But I'm watching it being pulled, and I just don't know.
Commander Ballantyne from the International Space Station. Watching the moon's orbit change in real time. We'll continue to monitor that situation. Across the globe, the picture is the same. Magnitude 8 and 9 earthquakes, tsunamis 30 to 40 meters high, volcanic eruptions, coastal flooding, infrastructure collapse, and Fimbulwinter still hanging in the sky, massive red pulling Earth into a new orbit. We estimate 1 to 2 billion casualties worldwide over the past 72 hours, most from the Pacific Rim, Japan, Indonesia, the Philippines, the west coasts of North and South America. Some coastal cities are just gone, swept away. The gravitational peak should last another 3 hours. 3 more hours of maximum stress on the planet. Then Fimbulwinter will begin to recede. The shaking will decrease. The tides will fall. But Earth's orbit, that's permanent. We're 7 million miles farther from the sun now, and the ice age is coming. We'll continue our coverage. For those listening, find shelter. Stay away from coastlines. Get to high ground. Avoid buildings that have sustained damage. This is the worst day in human history, but we will survive it. We have to. Stay with us. This is Emergency Coalition broadcast. I'm speaking to you from what's left of our Atlanta facility, running on generator power. It's been 12 hours since closest approach, 12 hours since Fimbulwinter passed within 1.8 million miles of Earth. I'm going to be honest with you. We lost a lot of people during the encounter, colleagues, friends. We don't know everyone who didn't make it. Communication is still fragmentary, but we're here. Some of us are here, and we're going to keep broadcasting as long as we can because that's what we do. We keep telling the story, even when the story is unbearable. Fimbulwinter is receding. At this moment, 12 hours post-closest approach, it appears approximately 6 times the size of the moon. Still massive, still visible as a red disk in the sky, but smaller than it was, smaller than the nightmare that filled the entire sky during peak encounter. It's leaving. But the world it's leaving behind, it's not the world we knew 48 hours ago. We're getting reports from the International Space Station. Commander John Ballantine and his crew survived. They maintained observation throughout the encounter, and they have critical information about the moon. We have Commander Ballantine on audio. Commander, can you hear us?
Jackson, yes, we're here. Audio is degraded, but we can communicate. Hey, I want to start with the good news because there isn't much good news to share. The moon survived. We kept the moon.
Can you give us details? What does that mean?
During the peak encounter, Fimbulwinter's gravity pulled the moon significantly outward. For several hours, we thought we were losing it. But the moon remained within Earth's gravitational influence. Its orbit has been altered, substantially altered. The new orbit is highly eccentric, much more elliptical than before. Our preliminary measurements show the orbital period has increased from 27.32 days to approximately 28.5 days. The perigee closest approach to Earth is now about 358,000 kilometers. Apogee, the farthest point, is approximately 420,000 kilometers. For comparison, the old orbit varies between 363,000 and 405,000 kilometers.
What does this mean for tides, for life on Earth?
Tidal patterns will be more extreme, more variable. High tides will be higher, low tides lower. Coastal communities will need to adapt. But we kept the moon. It's still there, still orbiting Earth. In all this catastrophe, that's one thing we didn't lose. The moon will still rise. The tides will still turn. That's something.
Thank you, Commander. One piece of good news in in an ocean of devastation. We also have confirmation from NASA regarding Earth's new orbital parameters. We're joined by Dr. Terry Rapson. Dr. Rapson, what can you tell us?
Jackson, Earth's orbit has been displaced by approximately 7 million miles, exactly as the independent models predicted. We are now orbiting at roughly 100 million miles from the Sun, up from 93 million. This represents a 13.5% reduction in solar radiation. But there's something else.
What is it?
The year has changed. Earth's orbital period, the time it takes to complete one orbit around the Sun, has increased. Instead of 365.25 days, we're now looking at 407.2 days, 42 days longer. We're going to have to redefine the calendar, redefine what a year means.
Which means the climate predictions, the ice age, all of it.
All of it is happening. We're already measuring a temperature drop. Global average temperature has fallen approximately 2 degrees Celsius in the past 48 hours. That's faster than the models suggested. The cooling cascade has begun.
We're receiving damage reports from around the world. I need to warn you, these numbers they're preliminary, they're incomplete, but they give us a sense of the scale of what just happened. We're now joined by field reporter Harry Stamper, who survived the encounter in inland Georgia. Harry.
Jackson, I'm still trying to process what I witnessed. The Pacific Rim was hit hardest, cascading magnitude 8 and 9 earthquakes. Tokyo, Manila, Jakarta, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, Vancouver, major coastal cities throughout the Pacific experienced catastrophic damage. Some are effectively destroyed, completely destroyed. Atlantic coastal cities fared somewhat better, but still experienced severe earthquake damage. London, New York, Miami, Charleston all sustained significant destruction. Tsunami waves struck coastlines worldwide. Wave heights varied from 15 to 40 meters depending on location and local bathymetry. Coastal populations, the casualties they're immense.
Do we have casualty estimates?
Preliminary estimates, and I want to emphasize these are preliminary, suggest between 1.5 and 2 billion deaths during the 72-hour encounter period. 1.5 to 2 billion people, most from earthquakes and building collapse, tsunamis, fires. Some regions we simply can't reach yet. We don't know. We just don't know how many.
2 billion people in 3 days. I don't know what to say to that. There's nothing to say that makes sense of that number. 2 billion lives, 2 billion stories, gone. We also have Dr. Jack Hall, climatologist, joining us. Dr. Hall, you've been warning about this for months. Now it's happened. What happens next?
Jackson, the encounter is over. Fimbulwinter is receding. The earthquakes will gradually decrease over the coming days and weeks. But the Ice Age is just beginning. We're already seeing the temperature drop 2 degrees in 2 days. That will accelerate over the coming weeks and months. Within 6 months, we'll be down 10 to 12 degrees Celsius globally. Within a year, and remember, a year is now over 400 days long, we'll see 12 to 15 degree drops. Ice sheet formation will begin in the Arctic and subarctic regions within 18 months. The world as we knew it, as we remember it, that world is gone. What's coming is unlike anything in human history. We survived the encounter. Now we have to survive the aftermath.
Fimbulwinter is now, it's about 3 times the size of the moon, still visible, still that angry red color, a reminder of what just happened, but it's getting smaller every hour, moving away at 80 kilometers per second. In a few months, it will be barely visible. Eventually, it will fade from view entirely. But we won't forget. We'll never forget what it did to us. We survived the encounter. 2 billion of us didn't, but 6 billion did. We're here, we're alive, and we're going to keep broadcasting. We're going to keep telling the story of what happened, of who we lost, of what we're facing, because that's all we can do now. Survive, remember, and prepare for what's coming. Fimbulwinter is leaving, but Earth is changed forever. We'll continue broadcasting as long as we can. If your loved ones are alive, hold them close. If they're not, remember them, honor them. We'll be back with more information as it becomes available. This is Jackson Curtis for Emergency Coalition Broadcast. Stay safe, stay together, stay human.
What happened to Earth was a gravitational perturbation event, a close encounter between our planet and a rogue brown dwarf star designated Fimbulwinter. I'm Ronald Quincy, and I'm going to explain exactly what occurred, the physics, the orbital mechanics, how a visitor from interstellar space changed our world forever. Fimbulwinter is a brown dwarf with approximately 15 Jupiter masses. For reference, Jupiter has 318 times the mass of Earth. Fimbulwinter has 4,770 times our mass. It's not quite massive enough to sustain hydrogen fusion like a true star, but it's far more massive than any planet. Brown dwarfs form the same way stars do, from collapsing clouds of gas and dust, but they don't quite make it to star status. Fimbulwinter likely formed billions of years ago, somewhere else in the galaxy. Then something, gravitational interaction with another star perhaps, ejected it into interstellar space. It's been wandering the void ever since, until it encountered us. The approach velocity was 47 kilometers per second. That's about 105,000 miles per hour. Fast by human standards. But in cosmic terms, it's actually quite slow for an interstellar object. That relative slowness is what allowed such a close approach. A faster object would have shot past with minimal effect. Closest approach occurred at 3.2 million kilometers, about 8.3 times the distance to our moon. At that distance, the gravitational force between Fimbulwinter and Earth was enormous. We can calculate it precisely using Newton's law of universal gravitation. The force was approximately 6.4 times 10 to the 21 newtons. That's 6.4 billion trillion newtons pulling at our planet. That gravitational tug did two things. First, it created tidal forces. The side of Earth facing Fimbulwinter experienced stronger gravitational pull than the far side. This differential force literally stretched our planet. Not enough to break it apart, but enough to trigger massive seismic activity. The magnitude 9 earthquakes we experienced were a direct result of crustal stress from these tidal forces. Second, and more importantly, it changed Earth's orbital velocity. When Fimbulwinter passed, it pulled Earth slightly in its direction of travel. This added a component to our velocity vector that, over the 3-day encounter window, altered our orbit around the Sun. The mathematics are complex, but the result is straightforward. Earth's semi-major axis, the average distance from the Sun, increased from 93 million miles to 100 million miles, 7 million miles farther. This corresponds to roughly 7.5% increase in orbital radius. Now here's where it gets interesting from a physics standpoint. Solar radiation decreases with the square of distance. If you double the distance from the Sun, you receive 1/4 the radiation. Our 7.5% increase in distance results in approximately 13.5% decrease in solar radiation received. That calculation, 1 divided by 1.075 squared, gives us 0.865, meaning 86.5% of previous solar radiation, a 13.5% decrease. That radiation decrease drives the temperature drop. Earth's equilibrium temperature is determined by a balance between incoming solar radiation and outgoing thermal radiation. When you reduce input by 13.5%, the planet cools until it reaches a new equilibrium. For Earth, that works out to approximately 12 to 15 degrees Celsius cooling, which is exactly what we've observed. Some have asked why we couldn't stop this, why Project Orion failed. The answer is a matter of energy scales. To change Earth's orbit requires changing its kinetic energy. Earth has a mass of 6 times 10 to the 24 kilograms. It orbits at approximately 30 kilometers per second. The kinetic energy is 1/2 mass times velocity squared. That's 2.7 times 10 to the 33 joules. That's the energy scale we're talking about. Project Orion used 13,000 nuclear weapons. Total yield approximately 200 gigatons. That's 8.4 times 10 to the 20 joules. Enormous by human standards. But compared to Earth's orbital energy, it's nothing. It's 3/10 trillionths of the energy needed to meaningfully alter our orbit. We might as well have been throwing marshmallows. The moon was also significantly affected. Its orbit around Earth became highly perturbed during the encounter. For about 2 weeks, lunar tides were chaotic, but the moon's orbit has since stabilized into a slightly different configuration. Its average distance increased by about 2%, barely noticeable to the casual observer, but measurable with precision instruments. One question I'm often asked, could this happen again? The answer is yes, but the probability is extremely low. Encounters between stars, even in dense stellar neighborhoods, are rare. Encounters between a rogue brown dwarf and an inhabited planet, we estimate that happens perhaps once every few 100 million years in the entire galaxy. We were, statistically speaking, extraordinarily unlucky. But here's something remarkable. Earth has been hit by asteroids, suffered ice ages, experienced mass extinctions. This event, this gravitational perturbation by Fimbulwinter, is now part of that history. 65 million years ago, an asteroid killed the dinosaurs. And in the future, geologists will study the Fimbulwinter layer, the sediment deposited during our ice age. They'll know something happened. Something changed our climate dramatically. What happened to us is a reminder. We live in a dynamic universe. Stars move, planets orbit, rogue objects drift through the darkness, and sometimes, very rarely, they intersect with worlds like ours. We were changed by Fimbulwinter, but we survived. We understood what was happening. We measured it, calculated it, and that understanding, that scientific knowledge, is part of what makes us human. We don't just experience the universe, we comprehend it.
This is Emergency Coalition Broadcast. Jackson Curtis reporting. It's been 1 week since the encounter. 1 week since Fimbulwinter passed within 1.8 million miles of Earth and changed our orbit forever. Tonight we're assessing the damage and trying to understand what comes next. Multiple regional stations are coordinating now, forming a loose coalition network. Our Atlanta facility, a station in Sao Paulo, another in Mumbai. We're sharing resources, broadcasting when we can. The infrastructure it's fragmentary, but we're here. We're still here. Fimbulwinter is now smaller than the moon again, visible as a bright red point in the sky, brighter than Mars, receding at 80 kilometers per second. It will remain visible for months, eventually fading, but we won't forget it. We can't forget what it did. The damage assessment it's overwhelming. Estimated casualties from the encounter range from 1.5 to 2 billion dead, most from the Pacific Rim, Tokyo, Manila, Jakarta, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle, Vancouver. Major coastal cities throughout the Pacific experienced catastrophic damage. Some are effectively destroyed. Atlantic coast cities fared somewhat better, but still sustained severe earthquake damage. European coastlines were devastated. Inland regions experienced earthquake damage. Some cities remain functional, but global trade has essentially ceased. Communication networks are fragmentary. We're connecting when we can, how we can. But beyond the immediate destruction, the climate is changing. Dr. Jack Hall is with us. Dr. Hall, what are you seeing in just this first week?
Jackson, the temperature drop is accelerating faster than our worst-case models predicted. Global average temperature has fallen 2 to 3 degrees Celsius in just 7 days. We initially predicted 5 degrees by 6 months. At this rate, we could hit that in 6 weeks. Northern Hemisphere temperatures have dropped 4 to 5 degrees. Ocean surface temperatures are down 1 to 2 degrees. We're seeing early snowfall in Scandinavia, unusual for this time of year. Weather patterns are shifting, jet streams becoming erratic. The ultimate destination remains 12 to 15 degrees below baseline, but we're getting there faster than expected.
We have field reporter Harry Stamper, who survived the encounter in Georgia. Harry has been traveling to assess conditions. Harry, what are you seeing out there?
Jackson, I've been documenting refugee movements. The exodus from northern regions is intensifying. Canada above 50 degrees north is being abandoned. Northern United States, Montana, North Dakota, Minnesota, population losses of 50% or more. Everyone moving south, Mexico, Central America, southern states overwhelmed with refugees. I spoke with a family from Seattle, walked 200 miles with their children, everything they owned in backpacks. Their city is, parts of it are buried under earthquake debris, parts are still burning. They said there was nothing to go back to, so they walked. That's the story everywhere. People walking, just walking south.
Dr. Hall, how long until the first real winter? Until conditions become truly uninhabitable in the north?
6 months. Maybe less at this rate. And remember, with our new 407-day orbital period, 6 months means nearly 200 days. 200 days of accelerating cooling. The first winter in the new climate will be unlike anything in recorded history. Temperatures in what used to be temperate zones could reach minus 30, minus 40 Celsius. Sustained, anyone still north of 45 degrees latitude by then. They won't survive.
We also have an update on the moon. NASA reports that tidal patterns are stabilizing in the new eccentric orbit. Extreme but predictable. High tides higher, low tides lower. Coastal communities are adapting. Some ports are unusable at low tide, others at high tide, but we kept the moon. In all this loss, that's one small victory. Government response has been fragmentary. The United States federal government is attempting to coordinate relief efforts. FEMA is mobilizing, but the scale it's beyond anything we've prepared for. Some nations have collapsed entirely. No functioning central authority. Regional alliances are forming. City-states, whatever works. There are also reports about the vault facilities, the elite survival bunkers that caused such outrage before the encounter. Some survived, some were breached and looted. Status of the inhabitants is mostly unknown, but the public resentment remains. They hid while we died. That's what people are saying, and it's hard to argue with that. 1 week after the encounter, 1 week into the Ice Age, the world is changed. Colder, darker. We lost 2 billion people in 72 hours. We'll lose more in the months ahead. Famine, disease, cold. But 6 billion of us are still here, still alive, still fighting to survive. We'll continue broadcasting as long as we can, as long as we have power, as long as there are people who need to know what's happening. This is Emergency Coalition Broadcast. Jackson Curtis reporting. Stay alive, stay together, stay human. Emergency Coalition Broadcast, Jackson Curtis reporting from Atlanta. It's been 6 weeks since the encounter, 6 weeks since Earth was pulled into a new orbit, and tonight, the reality of what's happening is becoming impossible to deny. Global average temperature has dropped 5 degrees Celsius. That's 9 degrees Fahrenheit in 6 weeks. When we last reported 1 week after the encounter, temperatures were down 2 to 3 degrees. It's accelerating, faster than anyone predicted. We're joined by Dr. Jack Hall. Dr. Hall, you predicted this would happen, but are you surprised by how fast?
Yes, we're ahead of worst-case models. Initial predictions suggested 5 degrees by 6 months. We hit that in 6 weeks. I'm revising projections to 10 degrees by 6 months, maybe more. The climate cascade is happening faster than the physics suggested it should. Part of this is the albedo effect. As snow and ice cover more of the planet, more sunlight gets reflected back to space, which causes more cooling, which causes more snow. It's a runaway feedback loop, and it's happening right now.
We have field reporter Harry Stamper in what used to be Iowa. Harry, what are you seeing there?
Jackson, I'm standing in a cornfield, or what was supposed to be a cornfield. Late summer crops freezing in the fields. Unharvested, this corn will never be harvested. The farmer I spoke with said 50 years his family worked this land. Now it's over. The growing season ended, just ended. Middle of August. This is happening across the entire Midwest. Wheat, corn, soybeans. All of it. Just frozen in the ground. The food supply crisis it's going to be catastrophic. Famine warnings have been issued for northern regions not next year, this winter.
We're also seeing early winter arriving in unexpected places. Snow in northern California mountains. Early October, and there's already 2 meters of snowpack. Madrid experienced its first flurries 2 days ago. Beijing, temperatures dropping below freezing at night. The Great Lakes are beginning to freeze, earlier than ever recorded. Ocean temperatures have also dropped dramatically. Surface temperatures down 3 to 4 degrees from baseline. Fish migration patterns disrupted. The fishing industry is in crisis. Marine ecosystems collapsing. Everything is changing. Everything. We're joined by Dr. Constance Peterson, a psychologist who has been studying mass response to the crisis. Dr. Peterson, what are you seeing in terms of how people are processing this?
Jackson, what we're witnessing is mass denial breaking down. In the weeks immediately after the encounter, many people were in shock, numb. Some were hoping, believing maybe it wouldn't be that bad. Maybe the scientists were wrong. Maybe we'd adapt easily. But now, 6 weeks in, reality is setting in. It's really happening. The Ice Age is real. Billions are going to die. The world we knew is gone. That realization it's crushing. We're seeing depression rates climbing, suicide rates climbing. People are watching the world die in real time. And there's nothing they can do to stop it.
The migration south is intensifying. Northern cities are losing population daily. Canada above 50 degrees north is almost completely abandoned. Northern United States, Montana, North Dakota, Minnesota, population losses exceeding 50%. Everyone moving south, Texas, Mexico, Central America. The Mexico border is seeing 50,000 people per day. No longer restricted, no longer enforced, just open. Everyone flowing south, seeking warmth, seeking survival. Southern cities are overwhelmed, but the alternative is freezing to death in the north. Infrastructure is failing in abandoned regions. Power grids shutting down. Heating fuel critically scarce. Some regions are having to choose. Heating or electricity. Not both. The systems are breaking, faster than we thought they would. Meanwhile, the vault facilities up north, those sealed underground complexes, have gone completely silent. 50,000 people locked away, no communication, no contact, living out the rest of their lives in isolation. 6 weeks since the encounter. And the comfortable lies we told ourselves, the hope that maybe it wouldn't be that bad, all of that is gone now. The Ice Age is here, the world is changing, and we can't stop it. All we can do is survive. We'll continue our coverage as conditions evolve. Stay informed, stay together. This is Emergency Coalition Broadcast. Jackson Curtis reporting. Emergency Coalition broadcast, Jackson Curtis reporting. The calendar says May 15th, late spring, should be summer approaching. But the reality is something else entirely. The current temperature in New York is -2 degrees Celsius. It should be 22 degrees. The snow that fell in November is still here in May. And tonight we're realizing something that changes everything. That snow isn't going to melt, ever. We're joined by field reporter Harry Stamper in Minneapolis. Harry, what are you seeing?
Jackson, I'm standing in 2 meters of snow. Snow that fell last November. It's May, spring, and this snow is still here. The temperature hasn't been above freezing in 6 months. This is permanent snow. Permanent. At 45 degrees north latitude, permanent snowfields are establishing. Satellite imagery shows white spreading south. Week by week, more snow, more ice. It's not melting. Summer isn't coming. There is no summer anymore.
Dr. Jack Hall is with us. Dr. Hall, talk us through what's happening, the science of this.
Jackson, global average temperature is now 10 to 12 degrees Celsius below pre-encounter baseline. In the northern temperate zones, 40 to 50 degrees north, temperatures that should be 15 to 20 degrees are actually 0 to 5 degrees. Chicago had a high of 2 degrees yesterday, should be 22. London is below freezing at night, should be mild. Ice accumulation has been confirmed. Hudson Bay has accumulated 10 to 20 meters of ice. Northern Scandinavia, similar depths. Siberia showing ice nucleation points. Glaciation has officially begun. We're watching ice sheets form in real time. This is what the beginning of an ice age looks like.
Ocean temperatures have also plummeted. Surface temperatures are 6 to 8 degrees below baseline. Sea ice is extending much farther south. The Arctic Ocean is frozen year-round now. The Antarctic ice shelf has expanded 300 kilometers. The oceans are changing. Everything is changing. We're also joined by Dr. Miles Hendren, agricultural expert. Dr. Hendren, what does this mean for food production?
It means catastrophe. Growing degree days, that's the metric we use. Cumulative temperature a plant needs to mature. In the former temperate zones, you're looking at 120 to 180 day growing seasons. Most crops need 200 plus. You can't farm permafrost. You just can't. Last year's harvest is gone, frozen in the fields. This planting season, almost nothing is viable above 40 degrees north. Even cold-adapted crops are struggling. We're looking at complete agricultural collapse across the northern hemisphere. Famine is spreading. Estimated 200 million deaths from starvation in the past 6 months alone.
Ecosystem collapse is accelerating. Temperate forests north of 40 degrees are 90% dead. Boreal forests are completely dead or dying. Marine life, 60% of species extinct or in severe decline. Coral reefs, 95% dead globally. Large mammals, 70% extinct or near extinct. The world as we knew it is dying. We also have an update on the moon. The eccentric orbit continues to produce extreme but predictable tides. Coastal communities have adapted. New tide tables accounting for the 28.5-day period. The moon remains. Changed, but there. At least we kept that. May 15th by the old calendar. Though with our new 407-day year, we're still recalibrating what the seasons even mean anymore. The calendar says late spring. The calendar is lying. There is no spring. There is no summer coming. The summer that wasn't, that's what people are calling it. The year winter came and stayed. This is the new reality. Ice age, permanent winter in the north. Millions dying from cold and starvation. Ecosystems collapsing. The world transformed. We're 7 months into this, and it's only going to get worse. Emergency Coalition broadcast will continue as long as we can maintain power and communication. This is Jackson Curtis. Stay alive, stay warm, stay human. Emergency Coalition broadcast. Jackson Curtis reporting. 1 year ago tonight, Earth encountered Fimbulwinter. 365 days since the world changed. Tonight we're taking stock, counting the cost, and facing the reality that this first year, this is just the beginning. Global average temperature has dropped 12 to 15 degrees Celsius from baseline. 12 to 15 degrees in a single year. That's unprecedented in human history. The last ice age took thousands of years to develop. We did it in 12 months. We're joined by Dr. Jack Hall. Dr. Hall has been tracking the climate cascade since day one. Dr. Hall, walk us through what's happened.
Jackson, we're watching ice age formation in real time. The first winter after the encounter was catastrophic. Northern regions experienced temperatures 30 to 40 degrees below normal. That summer, if you can call it that, temperatures barely reached freezing in areas that should have been temperate. The snow that fell last winter never melted. Hudson Bay is now the nucleus of what will become the North American ice sheet. We're measuring ice accumulation of 10 to 20 meters already. Northern Scandinavia, same story. These aren't seasonal snowpacks anymore. This is permanent ice, and it's growing.
We have field reporter Harry Stamper, who's been documenting the migration south. Harry, what are you seeing 1 year in?
Jackson, the northern regions are essentially abandoned now. Canada above 55 degrees north is a dead zone. Mortality rate above 80%. The few who stayed, most didn't survive the first winter. Between 45 and 55 north, we're seeing 50% mortality. The survivors are moving south, still moving. 1 year later and the exodus continues. I'm in what used to be Iowa, farmland that fed millions. The growing season this year was 60 days. 60 days. You can't grow corn in 60 days. You can't grow wheat. The Midwest breadbasket is dead. Famine is. It's everywhere. The death toll from starvation alone, it's staggering.
The casualty estimates from the first year they're almost incomprehensible. 2 to 3 billion people dead. 2 to 3 billion. From the encounter itself, from the cold, from starvation, disease, violence. That's nearly half of the people who were alive when Fimbulwinter approached. Dr. Miles Hendren is an agricultural expert who's been assessing food production. Dr. Hendren, can we survive?
That's the question everyone's asking. The answer is yes, but not where we were, not how we were. Agriculture above 40 degrees north latitude is finished. The growing season is too short. The temperature's too low. Viable farming is now limited to a band roughly 35 north to 35 south. That means the populations have to move there. And they are. Mexico, Central America, the southern United States, northern South America, Central Africa, India, Southeast Asia. These are the new population centers, the only places people can survive long term. We're watching the greatest migration in human history.
The oceans have also changed dramatically. Marine ecosystems are collapsing. 40% of fish species are in crisis. The Atlantic circulation has slowed by 60%. Sea surface temperatures are 8 to 10 degrees below baseline. The Arctic Ocean is frozen year-round now. Sea ice covers 30% of the ocean surface. Before the encounter, it was 7%. And now, we're approaching the second winter. The snow is falling again, November. And it's snowing in places that haven't seen snow in decades. Atlanta, Dallas, northern Mexico. This winter will be worse than the last, because the planet is colder, because we have fewer resources, because we're already exhausted.
The ice will continue to accumulate. What we're seeing now at Hudson Bay and Scandinavia, that's just the beginning. Over the next few years, the ice will spread southward, thicker. Eventually, it will cover Canada, northern Europe, northern Asia, ice sheets kilometers thick. This is the trajectory we're on. This is the new Earth.
The vault facilities, those underground bunkers built before the encounter, they sealed themselves during the chaos. 50,000 people locked inside. We've had no communication with them. They're living in isolation now, completely cut off. We don't know what's happening in there. We may never know. 1 year after the encounter, 5 billion people remain. Down from 8 billion, the world we knew is gone. The climate we adapted to over 10,000 years of civilization, gone. We're living in a new ice age. And this is just year one. The ice will advance. The cold will deepen. More will die. But we're learning. We're adapting. We're finding ways to survive. This is Emergency Coalition Broadcast. Jackson Curtis reporting. Stay alive, stay warm, stay human.
Year 2 of the Ice Age, 24 months since the encounter with Fimbulwinter. 2 years since Earth was pulled into a new orbit 7 million miles farther from the Sun. This is the documentary record. This is where we are now. Global average temperature has dropped 18 degrees Celsius from baseline. The ice sheets are forming. Real ice sheets. Hudson Bay in Canada has accumulated 100 to 150 meters of ice. Northern Scandinavia, 80 to 120 meters. Northern Siberia, 90 to 130 meters. These ice nucleation points are spreading, advancing southward at 1 to 2 kilometers per year. The North American ice sheet covers most of Canada above 50 degrees north now. Edmonton, Winnipeg, Montreal, Quebec City, buried or abandoned. The Scandinavian sheet covers everything above 60 degrees north. The Russian sheet, 65 degrees north and above. These are the beginnings of continental glaciers, and they're just getting started, living on a 407-day calendar that would bewilder their ancestors. Global population is estimated at 3 to 4 billion. We've lost 4 to 5 billion people in 2 years. From the encounter, from cold, starvation, disease, migrating, concentrating, moving into the only zones where humans can still survive. Viable agriculture now exists only between 35 degrees north and 35 degrees south. The former breadbasket regions are dead. The American Midwest, Ukraine, Argentina, abandoned. Populations are concentrating in Mexico, Central America, the Caribbean, Southern U.S., North Africa, the Middle East, India, Southeast Asia, Central Africa, Northern South America. The oceans are changing. Surface temperatures 8 to 10 degrees below baseline. Sea ice covering 30% of the ocean. The Arctic Ocean is frozen year-round. The North Atlantic is freezing to 50 degrees north latitude. Marine ecosystems are collapsing. 60% of species extinct or in severe decline. Coral reefs, 95% dead globally. On land, the forests are dying. Temperate forests north of 40 degrees, 90% dead. Boreal forests completely dead or buried under ice. Large mammals, 70% of species extinct. The ecosystems we knew, the biosphere that supported 8 billion people, it's collapsing, reorganizing into something new, something colder. But here's the thing. Here's what gives me hope. We're adapting, slowly, painfully. But we're adapting. New agricultural patterns are developing for the shorter, cooler growing seasons. Technology is regressing in some areas, but knowledge is being preserved, skills transmitted. In the stable equatorial regions, rebuilding has begun. Children are being born into this world, children who will never know what Earth was like before. To them, this is normal, Ice Age Earth, and maybe that's okay. Maybe that's how it should be. They're not mourning what was lost. They're building what comes next. The ice will continue to advance. Year 3, Year 4, Year 5. The ice line will push south, eventually reaching 45, maybe 40 degrees north. The ice will thicken, hundreds of meters, then kilometers. This is a process that will take years, decades. The Earth won't stabilize for a generation. We kept the moon. In all the chaos, all the death, we kept the moon. Its orbit is eccentric now, highly elliptical, wild tides, but it's still there, still rising every night. still pulling the oceans. That's one thing Fimbulwinter didn't take from us. Fimbulwinter is still visible. Faint red point in the sky, dimmer than it was, receding. In a few more years it will fade from view entirely. But we'll never forget. We'll never forget the year the sky turned red. The year winter came and stayed. The year everything changed.
Welcome to Voices. I'm Adrian Helms. For the past year, I've been traveling the equatorial zone, interviewing survivors of the Fimbulwinter encounter, people who were there, who remember. Their stories are being recorded for the archive, for future generations who will want to know, what was it like? What did you feel? How did you survive? Today I'm speaking with Maria Santos. Maria is 74 years old. She was a teacher in Rio de Janeiro when the encounter happened. Maria, thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for listening. I want people to remember. My students, some of them didn't make it. I want their names remembered.
Tell me about the days before closest approach.
The city was strange. Everyone knew what was coming. Classes were canceled. Most people stopped going to work. We spent time with family, said goodbye to people we thought we might not see again. There was this gentleness, people being kind to strangers, helping each other. It was beautiful in a terrible way.
And during the encounter itself?
I was in a park with my daughter and my grandson. He was 3 years old. The earthquakes were constant. The ground never stopped shaking. And above us, Fimbulwinter, this massive red thing. My grandson pointed at it and asked, "What is that, Vovo?" I told him it was a star passing by. He said, "It's scary." I said, "Yes, but we're together." And we were. We survived.
I also spoke with James McCall. James is 81. He was a civil engineer in Chicago. James, you chose to stay in Chicago even after most people evacuated. Why?
Pride, I suppose. Stubbornness. I'd lived in Chicago my entire life. I built things there. I couldn't imagine leaving, so I stayed. Through the first winter, the second. By the third year, there were maybe 500 people left in the entire city. We scavenged, burned furniture to stay warm, hunted pigeons. It was barbaric.
But you eventually left.
Year 4, a transport came through, rescue mission. They said if we didn't leave then, we'd die before the next winter. I believed them. We left. I watched Chicago disappear in the rearview mirror, frozen, dead. But I survived. That city, that beautiful city, it's under 20 feet of ice now. But I remember it. Summer nights, jazz clubs, Lake Michigan. I remember.
These are the voices of the Fimbulwinter generation. Those who remember and those who don't. Those who mourn the old world and those who only know the new. Together, they tell the story of humanity's greatest catastrophe and its greatest triumph. We survived, we endured, and we will continue. These voices will be preserved, remembered, so that future generations, 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, will know what we experienced, what we lost, and what we became.
This is Whiskey 4 Charlie Golf calling. I don't know if anyone's listening. I don't know if anyone's left up here. We're in northern Minnesota, about 80 miles south of the Canadian border. What used to be the boundary waters. It's all ice now. Been 5 years since the encounter, 5 years of this. Temperature outside right now is negative 43 Celsius. That's with the sun up. Not that you can see it much, just a dim glow through the clouds, like a flashlight battery running down. There's 7 of us left. Started with 19. Thought we could wait it out up here. Thought we were smart staying away from the refugee zones. Kept the cabin, kept the supplies, kept ourselves isolated from all the chaos down south. Stupid. We were so stupid. Food ran out 3 months ago. We've been eating bark, lichen, anything we can find. Set snare traps, but there's nothing left alive out there. Everything's gone. Sometimes I see tracks in the snow. Small things, but we never catch anything. It's like they know like they can smell the desperation on us. My wife, Sarah, she died 2 weeks ago. Infection, cut her hand on a frozen hinge. Such a small thing, wouldn't have mattered before. But now, we don't have antibiotics, don't have anything. Watched the fever take her over 4 days. Watched her shake, watched her beg for water. We couldn't warm up. She died in my arms. Froze solid within an hour. We still haven't buried her. Ground's too hard. Just covered her with a tarp outside. The kids, my kids, Emma's 9, Luke's 6. They don't understand why there's no food, why it's always so cold, why mommy's not coming back inside. Emma stopped crying yesterday, just stares at the wall now. Luke won't stop shivering, even wrapped in every blanket we have. His lips are blue. Heat source is almost gone. Been burning furniture, floorboards, anything that'll burn. Maybe 3-4 more days of fuel if we're careful. After that, I don't know. The cold gets in through the walls now, through the foundation. Can see your breath inside all the time. Ice forming on the ceiling. I've been thinking about what comes next. We're not gonna make it, I know that now. No rescue coming, no supply drops. The government forgot about us. Or maybe they're all dead too. Maybe everyone down south is gone and we just don't know it yet. I can't watch them starve. Can't watch them freeze. Can't watch Emma's eyes get more hollow every day. Can't listen to Luke asking when we're going to eat. They're suffering. Everyone here is suffering. And it's only going to get worse. So I've been thinking, maybe there's a way to end the suffering for all of us, while we're still ourselves. There's fuel left in the generator. Carbon monoxide. They say you just go to sleep. Don't feel anything. Just sleep. And then it's over. No more cold. No more hunger. No more watching my children waste away. It would be mercy, wouldn't it? It would be merciful. I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm sorry I couldn't save you. Couldn't save any of us. I thought we'd be safe up here, away from the cities, away from the chaos. But there's no safe, not anymore. Nowhere's safe. If anyone's listening, if anyone's still out there, tell them we tried. Tell them we fought. Tell them the Grimes family, from Ely, Minnesota, we lasted 5 years. That's something. That's more than a lot of people got. Battery's low. This might be the last transmission. So goodbye to whoever's left, to whatever world is still out there. We're going to sleep now, all of us together. And maybe we'll wake up somewhere warm. This is Whiskey 4 Charlie Golf, signing off forever.
Good evening. I'm David Levins, reporting from the Global Broadcast Network headquarters in Nairobi. 50 years ago tonight, Earth encountered Fimbulwinter, a brown dwarf star that changed our orbit, our climate, our world. For half a century, we've lived in an ice age, and tonight, I want to tell you about the world we've built. This network, the Global Broadcast Network, was built by Jackson Curtis. Many of you know that name from the archives. Jackson was the anchor who reported through those first terrible years. The encounter, the exodus, the ice advancing, when communications were failing, when power grids were collapsing, Jackson kept broadcasting. He built this network from emergency stations scattered across the equatorial zone. connected them, sustained them, gave people a voice when the old world was dying. Jackson Curtis died 15 years ago at the age of 78, but his network endures, and I stand here tonight as his successor, continuing the work he started, telling the story, making sure we remember. 50 years after the encounter, Earth's population is 1.8 billion. We lost more than 6 billion people, but 1.8 billion of us survived. We adapted, we rebuilt. The world we live in now, it's nothing like the world that existed before Fimbulwinter, but it's ours, and it's stable. The ice has stabilized. It reaches 40 to 42 degrees north and south latitude. Everything beyond that is permanent ice, kilometers thick in places. Canada, Northern Europe, Russia, Northern Asia, all under ice. Antarctica has doubled in size. Southern South America is glaciated. The Ice Age is here, and it's not ending, not in our lifetimes, not for thousands of years. Humanity lives in the equatorial band now. 20 degrees north to 20 degrees south is where most of us are. The major population centers, Lagos, Nairobi, Sao Paulo, Jakarta, Mumbai, they're the new centers of civilization. Vertical cities, dense, efficient, we've learned to build up instead of out, to use every resource carefully, to waste nothing. Energy comes from the sun mostly, solar arrays covering thousands of square kilometers. Some regions have hydroelectric, a few fusion reactors in the largest cities. But we've adapted to lower energy availability than the pre-encounter world had. We use less, we conserve more, because we have to. Agriculture has transformed. Vertical farms in the cities, traditional farming in the viable zones between 20 and 35 degrees latitude. The crops are different. Cold-adapted varieties, shorter growing seasons. We eat differently than our ancestors did. But we eat, we survive. The political world has changed too. The old nations don't exist anymore. We have regional federations now. The East African Union, the Equatorial Alliance, the Southeast Asian Compact, city-states and regional councils. Cooperation is mandatory because the alternative is death. We learned that lesson 50 years ago. Culture has evolved in ways the pre-encounter world couldn't have imagined. National identity doesn't matter anymore. Race doesn't matter. We're too mixed, too integrated. What matters is contribution, what you do, how you help the community survive. Languages have blended. Most people speak 3 or 4 fluently. We're just human now. That's all. That's enough. Children born today, they've never known anything but the Ice Age. To them, the stories of the old world sound like mythology. Cities under ice, farmland where glaciers now stand, 8 billion people. It sounds impossible to them, but we make sure they understand. We tell the stories. We preserve the knowledge. We remember. Every year on Encounter Day, the anniversary of closest approach, we pause. The entire equatorial zone stops. We remember the billions who died. We honor those who survived and rebuilt. We tell the story of Fimbulwinter, the brown dwarf that changed everything. It's the most important day in our calendar, because it's the day that made us who we are. We kept the moon. Through everything, we kept the moon. Its orbit is strange now, eccentric. The tides are wild, but every night it rises. And when people look up and see it, they remember. In all the loss, we held on to something. We kept something beautiful. 50 years in the Ice Age. 1.8 billion people living in the equatorial zone. The world transformed. The climate changed, but humanity endures. We adapted. We survived. We built something new from the ruins of the old world, and we're still here. This is David Levin's Global Broadcast Network, continuing the work that Jackson Curtis started 50 years ago. To those who came before, we remember. To those who come after, we endured. We are the children of Fimbulwinter, and we are still human. Good night.
Well, that was rather bracing, wasn't it? I did warn you about the coat. Our little tale of celestial catastrophe has come to its conclusion. Humanity, that resilient species, managed to survive. Not all of them, of course. 5 billion didn't make it. But then, we've always been rather good at the survival business, haven't we? Even when the odds are, shall we say, astronomical. I hope you found our little drama illuminating. Perhaps you'll look at the night sky a bit differently now. That red point up there, just a star? Or is it best not to think about it too much? Sleep is so much more pleasant when one doesn't contemplate wandering brown dwarfs. Do remember, this was fiction, pure imagination. The real universe is far too well behaved to send anything our way, isn't it? Until next time, stay warm. Good night. Join us next time as we witness the next chapter in our species' fight for survival. The end times are far from over. Until then, here is a preview of our next broadcast.
Are you searching for that perfect antique to complete your home? Marston House Antiques in Jerusalem's Lot, Maine, offers the finest selection of European furnishings and curiosities. Each piece carefully selected, each item with a story to tell. Visit proprietor Mr. Straker and discover treasures that will last for generations. Marston House Antiques, where the past comes home.
Good evening. We interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you a special dramatic presentation. What you are about to hear is drawn from the ancient folklore of our New England wilderness, from stories whispered around dying fires, from legends that predate the coming of the white man to these shores. The producers wish me to assure you that this is purely a work of imagination. Any resemblance to recent events, to the tragedies unfolding even now in certain Maine townships, is entirely coincidental. Entirely. Picture, if you will, a time before memory, before the first European set foot upon these shores, before the Pilgrims, before the explorers, before even the Vikings ventured into these dark waters. The great pine forests stretched from the mountains to the sea, unbroken, primordial, vast beyond human comprehension. And in those forests dwelt a people who understood things we have forgotten. The Shokapiwa, the people of the river and the stone. They knew this land as a mother knows her child. Every stream had a name. Every mountain held a story. Every shadow in the deep woods had meaning. They knew where the salmon ran thick in spring. They knew which berries would nourish and which would poison. They knew when to plant and when to harvest, when to hunt and when to hide. But above all, above everything, they knew about the galoo. Ah, the galoo. How to describe such a thing to civilized ears? The elders said it was hunger incarnate, appetite given form and malice. It was not animal, though it might wear the skin of a bear or a wolf. It was not human, though it could speak with the voice of your beloved dead. It was something older than either, something that remembered the world before men walked upright, before fire was tamed, before even the first trembling prayers were offered to the spirits of earth and sky. The stories tell us it fell from the heavens, not as rain falls, gentle and life-giving, but as a judgment falls, as doom falls. The old ones passed down the tale from generation to generation, speaking in hushed voices of the night the sky tore open like rotted cloth, of how a burning star came screaming down through the darkness, trailing fire and madness in its wake. They say the impact shook the earth for 3 days. Trees snapped like kindling for 100 miles. The river reversed its course. Animals fled in terror, running until their hearts burst, running until they collapsed in heaps, dead from exhaustion and primordial dread. And when the dust settled, when the fires finally burned themselves out, there was a crater, a great wound in the earth, smoking and black. And in that wound, something stirred. The Galoo had arrived, and it was hungry. Oh, how it hungered. Not for meat, though it consumed flesh. Not for blood, though it drank deeply of that crimson vintage. No, the Galoo fed on something far more terrible. It fed on fear, on suffering, on the exquisite agony of hope dying in a child's eyes. It was a connoisseur of terror, a gourmet of grief, and the innocence of children was its most delectable feast. For years uncounted, the Galoo terrorized the Shokopiwa. Children would vanish from their sleeping mats in the night. Young hunters would venture into the woods and never return. The people tried to fight. They sent their bravest warriors into the crater with spears and arrows. None came back. They tried to flee. They packed their belongings and moved their villages a day's journey away. Then 2, then 5. But distance meant nothing to the Galoo. It found them. It always found them. And the children continued to disappear. But the Shokopiwa were a clever people, a wise people. They observed. They learned. They discovered something extraordinary. The crater itself, the fragments of the fallen star, these burned the Galoo, not with fire, but with something deeper, something fundamental. The very substance that had carried it to Earth also repelled it. Like calls to like, they say, but sometimes like also rejects like. The Starstone was both the Galoo's chariot and its chain. And so they built a cage, not of wood or iron, but of sacred geometry and ancient will. They took 13 fragments of the fallen star, each carved with symbols older than language, each blessed by their wisest medicine men, each bathed in the smoke of ceremonial fires that burned for 13 days and 13 nights. And these 13 stones they buried in a perfect circle around the crater, each one precisely placed according to the positions of certain stars, each one singing, if you had the ears to hear it, with a note that made the Galoo writhe and scream. The cage held. For the first time since the night the sky burned, the Galoo was bound. Oh, it raged. It howled. It threw itself against the invisible walls of its prison with such fury that the earth shook. But the 13 stones held fast, and eventually, exhausted by its tantrum, the Galoo slept. Down in the darkness of the crater, down where no light had shone since the world was young, it curled into itself and slumbered, and the Shokopiwa rejoiced. But their joy was premature. For sleep, even for such a creature, is not death. The wise men observed the stars. They marked the passing seasons. They counted the moons, and they discovered the terrible mathematics of the Galoo's existence. Every 27 years, when certain stars aligned in configurations known only to the initiated, when the barriers between worlds grew thin as gossamer, the Galoo would wake. Not fully, not as it had before the binding, but enough to hunt within the circle, enough to feed. The people learned to recognize the signs of its stirring. The dogs would grow restless, whining and pacing through the night. The children would suffer nightmares, waking with screams caught in their throats, unable to explain the orange lights that danced behind their eyelids. Small animals would disappear. First the mice, then the rabbits, then the deer. And always, always, there was the feeling of being watched from the darkness, the sensation of hungry eyes following your every move. When these signs appeared, the Shokopiwa took precautions. No child was allowed to wander alone. No one ventured near the crater. The village fires were kept burning day and night, for the Galoo hated light, or at least found it inconvenient. And they waited as the hunger grew, waited as the shadows deepened, waited as, inevitably, despite all their vigilance, 1 or 2 or 3 children would vanish into the night, drawn by voices that sounded like their mother's calling, lured by the promise of wonders just beyond the firelight. And then, after a handful of moons had passed, the Galoo would sleep again, sated, content, dormant for another 27 years. The people mourned their lost children, performed the proper ceremonies, spoke the names of the dead so they would not be forgotten. But they also understood. This was the price of the cage. This was the cost of keeping the Galoo bound. A few children every 27 years, or all the children, all the time. Terrible mathematics indeed. But then, as all things must, the world changed. The white men came with their guns and their Bibles, with their certainty that they understood the natural order, with their conviction that any truth not found in their scriptures was superstition fit only for savages. They built their settlements over the ancient grounds. They plowed their fields through sacred sites. They laughed at the warnings of the few remaining Shokopiwa. dismissed their stories as the fantasies of a primitive and dying people. And the Galoo? Oh, the Galoo adapted. It learned. For you see, intelligence is not the sole province of humanity. The Galoo was ancient when mankind first crawled from the primordial muck, and it understood survival in ways we cannot fathom. The new people brought new fears, new shapes to wear, new masks to don. Where once it might have appeared as a great bear or a monstrous bird, now it studied the faces of the white men, learned their customs, adopted their forms. Every 27 years, like clockwork, like the motions of the heavens themselves, the Galoo stirred. And every 27 years, children vanished. The new inhabitants of the land called it disease. They called it accident. They called it tragedy and misfortune and the inscrutable will of God. They called it anything, everything, except what it truly was. 1908, Easter Sunday. The Kitchener Ironworks. 102 dead, 88 of them children, dressed in their Sunday best, gathered for an egg hunt and a celebration. The official verdict, boiler malfunction. But ask those who were there. Ask them, if you can get them to speak of it, what they saw in the flames. They will tell you of a figure in white. They will tell you of orange lights that hypnotized and paralyzed. They will tell you of laughter, high and mad and gleeful, rising above the roar of the conflagration. And now it is 1935. 27 years have elapsed since the Kitchener disaster. The stars have wheeled through their appointed courses and returned once more to that dread configuration. The Galoo wakes. It rises from its lair beneath the streets of Derry, up through the storm drains and sewer grates, up into a world that has forgotten the old warnings, that has dismissed the ancient wisdom as primitive nonsense. It wears a new face this time, the face of a carnival man, a performer who died screaming in the darkness 27 years ago. Bob Gray was his name, and the Galoo studied him carefully before it fed, learned his mannerisms, his voice, his peculiar shuffling dance, and now it wears Bob Gray's silver suit with the orange pom-poms. It paints its face white. It carries red balloons. It has become the perfect lure for the children of this modern age. For what child can resist a clown with candy and balloons and promises of wonder? The good people of Derry search their woods. They question strangers. They organize patrols. They do everything reasonable, everything sensible, everything that modern, civilized, educated people do when faced with a crisis. And all the while, the thing they seek is beneath their feet, in the sewers, in the storm drains, in the deep places where the ancient crater still festers like an unhealed wound. Waiting, watching, hungry. This has been a dramatic presentation. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming. But before we do, a word to those of you listening in your comfortable homes, confident in the protection of civilization and progress. When you hear your children cry out in the night, when they speak of the clown in the storm drain who knows their name, when they beg you not to make them go near that dark corner, that shadowed alley, that grated opening where something moves in the darkness below, perhaps, just perhaps, you might remember this tale. Sleep well, if you can. Good night.